Hi, I'm Jake Branscome. Get disarranged.
Welcome to the Disarrangement, hosted by the two coolest cats around, Austin Blakely and Nick Branscome. Prepare to get disarranged.
Come on, come all, for what writes and undulates in your ears is not for the faint of heart. Behold, is the Disarrangement with your host Austin Blakely here and co-host Nick Branscome. How's it going, Nick?
Greetings, friends of Earth and beyond.
I need to start saying how's it hanging. I keep forgetting. How's it hanging is the way it's written, Austin. So Nick, do you know why nurses like red crayons? Only red ones.
Only red ones? Because it's the same color as blood? I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's close. I mean, sometimes they have to draw blood, but like...
That's the joke? Yeah.
Yeah, that's as close as I'm getting today. Anyways, so this is a special dad edition of the podcast.
Opening with the dad joke.
I think we should...
It's a nice segue.
Yeah, a nice segue. I think, what is it? When will this episode go out?
Father's Day.
June
19th. So we can just go on
today
and
is
say
Father's
Happy
Day.
Father's Day.
Yeah, happy
to all the
Father's
fathers out there.
Yeah, all you hot dads out there.
With your dad bods and your New Balances.
Oh, I heard that the dad bod was not a thing anymore.
What?
Like, evidently that the dad bod was like pulling in the women, and then like all of a sudden now it's not doing that.
Huh.
So, anyways,
This is a messed up world.
we have a special dad guest too, Mr. Jake Branscome. Thanks for joining us, sir. Good clap.
Well, I'm a little confused because Nick's not my son.
Oh,
I don't know why I'm here.
Revealed on the podcast.
Revealed on the
So
podcast.
he's been telling me for years that y'all were related.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, well, I've always thought I didn't really look like him, so... yeah.
Nah, I don't think you can deny him. I think y'all do look alike, personally. Yeah, you look like a perfect mix of your dad and your mom, actually.
Well, don't tell my mom that, because, Mom, she'll just get defensive and be like, no, he looks like his dad. He doesn't look like me.
Is that what she
That's
does?
exactly how she sounds, too, when she says it.
She don't think y'all resemble each other at all. Like
Me and my mom?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think she's always saying it's me and Dad.
Oh. Well, y'all do look a lot alike. There's I don't know if he told you about the well, I guess you probably saw him, but when he got his teeth pulled out, it was Corey actually sent me that picture randomly the other day. And,
did he?
and just where Nick's got more of a jaw in that look, y'all do look
When I
really
got my
like,
wisdom teeth
yeah,
taken
y'all
out.
resemble each other
yeah.
very much. I mean, he looks like he's in a lot more pain than you are normally.
Oh, yeah.
I
But,
was.
I mean,
I was in severe pain.
You've got a more defined jawline than he does, but that's kind of what I was trying to get at is, to me, you do look like both your parents. But so Jake, how's life been treating you, man?
Oh, like a mushroom.
Like a mushroom?
Yeah.
So have you just been a fun guy, or
No. Keep me in the dark.
he wasn't expecting that?
Keeps me in the dark and feeds me shit.
feed me shit. Keep me in the dark. Feed me shit. That could be said about a lot of things going on in the world right now.
Yep.
Just keep me in the dark and feed me shit, and I'll be fine. I'll grow.
Yep. That's right.
Are you one of those believers that like actual mushrooms came from space?
Didn't even know that was a thing, so no.
Evidently, that's a thing, because it's like its own. It's so much different than everything else.
Yeah.
It's truly, when we talk like truly alive, like it's truly alive.
Right.
Like it's like a tree. I guess all the plants they talk to each other, but the way they talk to each other is through fungus root. So that it's a very weird. That's why it's a whole nother thing. But some people say it came from like a mysterious asteroid, and that mushrooms made us what we are. Like us eating mushrooms as cavemen and dumb idiots, and then us having acid trips that made us smart. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that people believe that.
People that eat mushrooms believe that.
People eat mushrooms believe that. When you can even get a mushroom coffin nowadays. Like, mushrooms are the thing too.
You can get like buried.
buried
mushrooms?
in a mushroom, and it's
wow.
fully, fully, what do they call it? it's good for the environment.
Oh,
Is what
okay.
they're thinking.
That's like when
If I'm dead, I don't care.
yeah, that's like so when there's some people I've seen on posts before where you can get cremated, but like you can be your ashes can be put in the ground and then a tree grows in your place or something
they'll
like
bury
that.
you with a tree. So basically,
yeah,
you're in the soil that is of the tree, and then they plant the tree. And
I don't know if I want to be a tree after I die. That sounds kind of boring.
I feel like someone would come cut me down. That would piss me off. You want to raise my soul from the grave? Like, cut my damn tree down. But no, I honestly, I think that's a good. I think those are a lot of cool ways to kind of do something. It's better than being shot into space and just, I feel like if someone would, because you can pay to get shot into space now, but I feel like if I did that, I would want someone to have like a tracking. Like to be able to see where I ended up or where I'm at or what, what's going on, or did I just float into the sun or, whatever happened. But also too, you've got an awesome shirt on too. He's wearing the Carving Guitars shirt.
He didn't even remember. Like he's like me. He doesn't really remember what shirt he put on.
Well, I put it on at 4:00 this morning.
Well, the coolest thing is that it says Carving Guitars and not Kiesel Guitars. So
I have one that says Kiesel too.
You got one that says Kiesel too.
One that says Kiesel.
Well, not that Kiesel's like a bad thing, but like. I don't. Do they even label guitars with Carvin anymore? Like,
no, I don't think
that's
so.
strictly like audio.
When they transitioned over, you could order a Carvin logo still if you wanted it, even when they transitioned over to Kiesel.
You could get it if you felt like you needed
right, but
it.
I don't think it's even an option anymore. I don't think.
Kiesel is pretty established at this point.
Yeah.
Well, this
Nick's
man
got a cool shirt too.
Yeah, the B string. Shout out to Mr. Michael Bennett, or B as we call him.
Yeah,
awesome guitar shop in downtown Winston on Trade Street. But
you don't have to pay us for that. I promise. It'll be okay.
But just speaking of guitars, this person right here who's not my father, and that I found out a little bit ago.
But I do know to be on Father's Day and not have your father here.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do know that he's owned like every brand of guitar. Probably, I would say you've probably owned at least one of most every brand. That's of the big brands, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're considering the big brands to be Gibson and Fender, yeah.
What's the longest? The one you kept the longest, was it that Les Paul?
It was a 71 Les Paul Deluxe. Yeah, I kept that one.
70s Les Paul.
Probably kept that one for probably over a decade, I guess.
Why that one? What did that one do?
Well, because financially I was a little less able back then.
I get that too.
And I got that one. It was a Les Paul. I walked into Curtis Music down off of, it was in Auburn Station Shopping Center back in the late 80s, I guess. And me being a big Ace Frehley freak, I walked in and there was a left-handed Les Paul sitting on the stand.
Which is rare.
Yeah, especially back then.
Yeah.
This was pre-eBay, pre-everything, So left-handed Les Paul I thought was unattainable at that time. And then walked in and he wanted like $800 for it. And I had 5 or 6 junk guitars that I'd bought from him.
Yeah.
So I just
he knew what you had.
Yeah. So I handed him all of those back, and then still paid him until Nick was like 3 years old, like once.
Damn.
Once a week. I'm excited. I don't know, but I mean, Curtis trusted me, knew me since I was a little kid, so I just made weekly payments to him.
That's awesome.
Until I got that guitar paid for.
Well,
so I would say more out of necessity. The whole trading guitars around and buying guitars and stuff didn't come along till probably in the early 2000s when I had a little more financial means to do it.
So
late
like
90s, early
that,
2000s. Yeah.
So before that, you wasn't as much of a gearhead, is what you're saying?
No, because I just couldn't afford to be. Yeah.
What you had is what you had.
Right. And
I get that.
And I made more music then too than I do now.
Yeah,
I did.
That's
I really
interesting
did.
too.
Yeah,
is that you had less tools when you were making more music,
right?
But I guess too, as life goes on, you kind of find the means to buy, sell, trade. You get good deals or whatever, and that is so. Actually, now that we're mentioning that in the 2000s, what made you start kind of messing with that sort of thing?
I go back to when I was in a band called Busted Uncle a long time ago, and this was in the early 2000s. And I think we just had a rehearsal spot. It was a cool rehearsal spot. It was Tim Beeman's rehearsal spot, as a matter of fact, from the podcast that you guys were talking about. And the room was just so dead. I couldn't get anything that sounded good down there, and I thought it was me, So I just started swapping gear, and then it just kind of became an addiction to want to play different guitars.
So it was an accident.
It was kind of an accident. I was tone chasing, trying to find something that would work, and like I said, I thought it was
really
me that was
bad.
Yeah, it was the room really that I was battling, because I would take this gear from the room that we were in and go play a gig, and it would sound amazing. And then I would come back to that room, and it would just sounded like crap. in the room that we were in, the room was just so dead. I guess they none of us really knew any different. They just thought by deadening the room that they were that it was helping, but it really just didn't breathe at all.
It didn't help it.
No.
Well, and that's another test for any of you musicians out there. I equipment, especially for guitars, and I would say drums, bass is not quite as bad, but like you hit a room with something you've used you feel like your entire life. You've used something for like the last 5 years, and you hit one room and it just sounds terrible, and there's nothing you can do to fix it. Mm-hmm. That is some of the worst stuff. And at some point, I guess, like you said, it became an addiction, but at some point you realize it's not the equipment at this point. It's just that room. And I battle that room. But, to think about that before you start investing in a million and one things, right. Think about the room and what happened, and maybe what you can do with your existing equipment.
Well, and there's also a thing too with, like, I think getting new gear, you think it might sound different, because you were getting tired of your old sound or whatever, but in reality, it's just going to sound like you again.
Yeah, for the most part. Sometimes you just get gear that makes you sound like you with less fuss.
Exactly.
So
yeah, when I kind of got into the Helix world, which for anyone uneducated, that's just kind of like the modeling guitar world, not non-tube amp. When I got into that, I started realizing, like, everything that I'm doing or everything I'm programming into it, like I'm literally just making amps start to sound like what I want them to sound like, and then I've got like 4 different amps and they all sound the same. And I'm just like, and it's literally just because I'm doing it. Like, it's because I'm wanting to create a sound for what I want to hear. And it's not that I needed 4 amps. It's just, I needed to tune the one and leave it alone.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes like Nick was saying, you go get a Marshall amp, it sounds one way. You go get a Fender amp and, you dial it in the same way you did your Marshall amp, and it's pretty close to the same damn thing.
Yeah, you're just gonna turn the knobs until the bottom end hits the way that you want it to hit, and the top end hits the way that you want it to hit.
Exactly.
And you couple that with the attack of your hands and everything else, and you're gonna wind up sounding like you. I went through old recordings before when I was in a band called Sonic Shakedown a while back. And there was times I was using real amps. There was times I was using a Digitech RP500 straight to the PA.
Hell yeah.
And I honestly go back and listen to these recordings, and I couldn't tell you what I was using in any of them. I mean, I don't know.
It just
some
sounds
of them
like you.
Sounds like me. It doesn't.
I remember the Digitech, because I feel like I used it like a couple times.
It's early modeling, but those units were really good.
They were really good. So I used the Mesa
were.
Mark IV on all the time Mesa Mark IV model that it had, and this was in the early 2000s, I guess. I was using that, and it sounded fantastic out front.
Do you still have it?
No, I actually, believe it or not, I've not been without it long, though. I think I might have sold it 2 or 3 years ago to somebody.
Yeah, I felt like
Really?
they still held they still held value, like those units in particular. I don't think the Bosch units that were similar did as well.
Right. Yeah, the
but the
RP5, that
Digitech
RP500 was great. I thought it sounded great.
Yeah, I think actually right now, I think there, if I'm not mistaken, there's like kind of a hype around Digitech, because like for example, like if you go look at like the Digitech whammy pedals on eBay right now, they've like skyrocketed, and I don't know if it's because like the company's going to go out of business or what's going on.
A lot of players are using those.
It's
on a lot of people's
demand
boards.
sort
Yeah,
of thing?
I mean, that whammy pedal, for some reason or other, when you almost hear anybody using a whammy live, it's one of those Digitech whammies. Satriani uses one. In combination with his whammy bar, and
well, it seemed like the Digitech pedals in general, not like I wouldn't say like the small end pedals, like the kind of the cheap $50 pedals they were doing there for a while, but it seemed like Digitech stuff had skyrocketed and there's like no new product evidently. So I need to deep dive further into that, but I was kind of hearing that there was like Digitech stuff in particular was starting to gain some value. I don't know if
Could
there's
be.
just
Could
that.
be.
I think they did get bought by somebody, but maybe they're just
I think they were owned by a company called, was it Harman?
Harman. We've got good old Google here. Let me.
I'm not positive on that. I want to say maybe some company called Harman, which may have been tied into like Roland or something like that. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
All these companies just start, combining themselves with each other, and then it becomes really confusing over time.
Yeah, here's a Gear Guards article.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Harman.
Yep, Harman. Yep.
This is an article they did about Digitech may go out of business. This was back in April. Let me see. Still left on Sweetwater, but could very well just be the last of the stock sitting there. Oh, yeah, there's a video Fluff did. I don't know if y'all know who Fluff is. But was Digitech
I love his,
just discontinued.
I love his Reverb listings.
I'm going to refer
videos.
everybody there to Fluff. He's going to be more knowledgeable than I ever would be. Go listen to Fluff's was Digitech discontinued, and I'm sure he can explain it.
Huh.
But yeah, it almost sounded like that's what was happening. Is like they just I don't know if there's. I'll tell you what I probably think it is. It's probably just a bunch of Digitech pedals sitting in a shipping container out on the damn sea because of COVID. Someone ain't getting paid to move it over here or whatever it is,
Probably.
that's probably what's happened. But still, there was so if you got Digitech stuff, keep it for the moment or sell high, sell high.
Yeah.
God knows the stock market's not. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably a good time to invest in the stock market if you want that sort of thing. But
If you're a bottom feeder.
yeah, if you're a bottom feeder and want to sit on your money for the next 18 years or whatever. But anyway, so as far as the buy sell trading thing, that's literally just a hobby. You're not really doing.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm definitely not
it's a
making
fun
money.
thing.
You said sell high, but my motto is buy high, sell low, and
Okay.
yeah, it's worked not really well for me at all for all these years.
Well, it may be a more of a what you want at a certain time sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean it is. Something catches your eye, and then you obsess about it, and then you buy it, and then and then you go, it's just a guitar. It's just
it's exactly what I thought it was.
just damn wood and steel every time, and you still sucker for it again,
Yeah, I'll tell you.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. Like he won't. He's always said that he doesn't like for a guitar to not be being played or anything. So that's why there's a lot.
That's
Drives
the
me
way I
crazy.
am.
Drives
Yeah.
me
They get
crazy
played,
knowing that one's
it
just sitting in a
nerves.
case.
See, me, I will keep like 14 guitars in a 1-bedroom apartment, and like I'll think about maybe I should sell this one to have some extra money, and then I'll be like, nope, I might need it for
something.
For something,
I think it's good to have a collection because just sounds. If you can quickly switch a guitar to help something studio wise,
right?
Like just to get switch to a Tele to get a more twangier sound. It's going to be but it's going to be slightly twangier.
Yeah,
it's less EQing.
I think it's a combination of both. I think I like
makes
to just
the job.
have different guitars.
You just like seeing them.
I just like seeing them, but yeah, also too. I mean, I guess I like having options.
Yeah,
I guess so.
But I can mutually say with the obsessing thing, like I remember Needham went to this lady's house that I think it was his grandpa that kind of referred him over there, but she had a bunch of instruments. She had some fiddles. She had a couple of guitars, and he ended up going up there with I think $250 and come back with 3 guitars, if I'm not mistaken, and two of them were some pretty cheap acoustics. So I think one was one of those Stella Parlor ones, if I'm not mistaken, and the other was like a Hondo, it was like almost like a lemon yellow Hondo. So I don't think it was going to be purely playable, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
So I think it was more of a wall ornament for him. But you know how Needham is with acoustics, anyways. The darn strings could be a mile away from the fretboard, and he'll still play it. So,
Dude's action is high.
yeah, he just doesn't mind. He just
Well, he plays bass.
yeah, he
he
doesn't mind at all. He's
used to battling.
Yeah, he's used to battling. Maybe he likes the struggle, man.
Yeah, like,
maybe he likes the
It's
struggle.
like I was saying last night.
Needham, do you like the struggle?
We had a gig. Me and him had a gig Saturday, and there was one part in the show where we were doing like a request. I think we were doing Blue on Black or something, and he handed me his Fender Jumbo, and he got back on the little drum kit. And I went to go like solo on it, and I was like, "Oh my god, no, this ain't happening!" Like,
nope. But anyways, the third guitar was a like a 89 or 90 Korean Epiphone Sheraton, which was really cool. Like I straight up fell in love with it as soon as I saw it.
That by itself was worth the $250.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sure. But of course, you know, you get on seeing what they're selling for, and that one wasn't. I wouldn't say it's in the great. It was played, but I fell in love with the thing as soon as I plugged it up, and but as soon as I started looking up, they're damn selling for over $1,000.
Oh,
the Korean made ones, and I was like, well, if you want to get rid of it, let me know. And finally, we ended up settling on a price. And I ended up with that guitar. Now, when I said it's in, you know, better condition, it is not playable right now. The darn bridge disintegrated on me. And then I come to realize that, and this is where I might get into your wheelhouse where you were saying buy high and sell low. Is the now I've been sourcing a bridge, which I think I found one on eBay. But the darn bridge was shorter than a normal like Nashville style bridge. So you can get, I think it's 71 inches when they're normally like 72 and a quarter or something. I can't remember the exact measurement. But if you get a normal one, you have to mod it. You have to like open the holes and widen.
What does it have? Like a Tone Pros type bridge on it? Like a stop tailpiece kind of thing?
It's like a stop tailpiece, but the actual bridge itself, it's just slightly narrower. So
is that because it's Asian?
Yeah, I guess it's because that's what Samick was using back in those days. And but Kluson makes what they call the exclusive Samick era Epiphone ones, where they're slightly smaller. And I guess there's probably like SGs and Les Pauls that are probably that way too from that era. But since it came from that era, now I have to find a special bridge for it. It's become a whole hassle. So as soon as I replace the bridge on it, it'll be playable again. But, you know, it's, you know, when you find that thing and you open the case and then it's just, you know, the something happens when you see a guitar and you're just like, I must have it.
Yeah.
I must have it. And all you do is dream about it.
Well, you know, we talk about having a bunch of different guitars lying around. I've tried that. Actually, I've probably got more guitars now than I've had in a long time. But I thought that would cure.
Not irritating you yet?
Not yet, because I try to make myself play them and not leave them sitting in the case. But I forgot where I was going with that. But I thought that maybe it would like kill the gas, you know, for something else. But it doesn't.
You still want.
You still want. There's something else pops up that you want.
Yeah, so. You still want.
I've been like pretty good lately. Like there's not much I want. I guess there's not much I need. You know.
Yeah, you're pretty.
Like, I'm pretty. I have like everything I could pretty much want. You know, I don't.
You only need one.
Yeah, really, you only need one.
You only need one.
And a junker for a backup. I mean, that's what I did all the time back when I was back in the late 80s, early 90s when I was playing. That's like I said earlier, I didn't have the financial means. So I had my Les Paul, and I had a Series 10.
Yeah.
That was the Series 10 with
was that one that had like stickers all over it and stuff?
No, that was an Aria.
Oh, okay.
Aria Cat.
Good old Aria.
That was an Aria.
Shout out to you. Are you a company anymore?
I don't think so. But I still see a lot of them around. But that was an Aria Cat that I had that had all the stickers on it. Oh, okay. I played that one back in the
is that one that got traded
mid to
for
late
Les Paul?
80s. Probably went with the other 4 or 5. Yeah, the Les Paul. Yeah.
So is it guitars for you, or is it amps? Is it pedals?
Honestly, I don't get as hot for amps anymore since I got the Kemper, you know, so.
Yeah, it's hard to when you've got the Kemper, man.
I mean, I had a little Mesa Boogie Mark 535 that I really liked, and I sold it, and I've missed it since it was gone. Oh. So I did buy another one of those.
Was that like a combo?
Yeah.
Like a smaller
little combo, little 40-pound combo, and that thing it rocks for what it is. and I missed it really badly. So I did to buy another one of those since I've gotten the Kemper.
Oh, okay.
But
so
other
you
than
still
that,
have a good combo.
Yeah, a good tube amp.
I think that's the way you got to be if you merge into that world coming from a tube standpoint. If you didn't always start out with digital or modeling or something, then I almost think you have to keep at least one.
Yeah.
You got to keep some sort of tube amp around just in case.
There's just some magic that you do. I mean, as great as the Kemper is, there's just a little magic in the real tube amp. There's maybe something about the way it squishes or something that you just that the modeling world hasn't figured out yet.
Yeah.
But to the listener, and once you mic that thing up and it runs through solid state power amp through the PA, it's gone to the listener
close.
at that point anyway. It's just the feel that you get being right in front of it that so far the modeling world hasn't captured, but they will.
Yeah, the modeling world nowadays, it's got, even I was listening to some of the neural stuff, and I'm not huge into the idea of that because I kind of battle VSTs anyways, but just how close to a studio it sounds. Like a studio where you're miking a cab in the perfect room. You know, that's
this is a plug-in you're talking about.
Well, their
plugins are supposed to be great too.
Yeah, they've got the Quad Cortex now, but they're kind of
okay. I got you.
Based off of all their VSTs, so which are plugins. So
right.
That was kind of what inspired them to do that. So I think they wanted a unit that had basically a quad core processor in it that it wouldn't be as limiting. So basically the power of my computer in here, you know, powering your floor unit or whatever, and those are smaller. They're probably designed for studio really, but people are using them live. It's just, even if it got 80% there, you know, and it was that much easier, you know, I could see where a gigging musician, you know, you're going to jump on.
I think your Kempers and your Helixes are there now. That's probably at the 80% mark. You know. Yeah,
they're already that close. It's kind of hard to ignore it. You know.
I think it comes down to what you're gigging for too. I mean, if you're gigging for your money for a living, maybe playing music that you're not really all that crazy about, then you know, throw the Kemper, the Helix on stage and go. But if you're a gearhead, you want
to
design. You want to play your tube amps, you know, some too. You want to take them out.
Well, even Blakely over here, like, he got the Helix, but like with me, when I got the Kemper, I was like just done carrying my cab to a show. Then at that point, I was like, okay, I'll just plug this straight into the PA system. But Blakely's like, no, I still need, you know,
I need sound on
stage. So he would still bring his cab and a power amp, you know.
Yeah, I got one of those.
You can still get your sound on stage with a monitor, you know, or something like that.
So typically, the way I ran it is I would run it back to I've got a little solid state Seymour Duncan power amp, and I just put it through a 212, but we're not miking the cabinet. That's strictly for me. Like, that's only for me.
Right.
Except for I remember when we did Kishes, I didn't go through the PA, so I was coming out of a 412 that gig. But that little unit pumped it, or it kept up with your Marshall, which was good because I think you used the Marshall.
I did, and it really didn't sound good that night.
But it kept up with it. It was loud enough, you know. So really, I didn't run any tubes that night. But a lot of the times, if I've got the luxury of doing it, I'll run straight in, you know, but also run to my cab.
Yeah, I always will run straight. Even with my little Mesa, it's got the cab clone on the back.
Yeah.
I don't mic it.
Really?
I haven't mic'd an amp, and it's been several years now, I think, since the last time I've had anything that got mic'd.
So you actually dig the cab clone. I know a lot of people are shitting on that.
No, I love it. I mean, to me, I can't differentiate when I walk. I'm playing on stage, and then just for the heck of it, I'll walk to see what's coming out front, and it's identical to what I'm getting off the stage.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe because a lot of people were bitching about the cab clone from a studio standpoint.
Yeah, like, I don't use it for that. This is just for live.
Maybe that's what it was for. Maybe that's what it was initially thought to go through a PA, not necessarily to go straight into your desk. Or something. Of
course,
like
Mesa
that.
touts it both ways. You know.
Yeah.
But
they need to. You got to market.
Yeah.
But also too, I knew there were a bunch of people like shitting all over that. So yours, the cab clone was actually built into the amp.
It's on the back. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's on the back. Yeah.
That is so cool.
I mean, you can't really see it. It's in the guts, you know,
Yeah,
but
it's like,
the plug for it's in the
there's a
back.
plug.
And then you choose.
It's like built into the amp.
Yeah, and then you have 3 settings: vintage, open back, and 412.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and I mean, for live use, I think they sound great.
So cool.
So I might be a little ignorant with this. So a cab clone, you
like
already
a cab
have the
simulator.
speaker in the amp or in the combo, right? So what makes it a cab? I guess.
It's an IR,
Yeah,
basically.
it simulates
it's
load.
it's like an impulse response.
Oh, okay.
Also, it's like coming direct out of a Kemper almost, but you are getting the tone from your amp, which all an IR is it's really just kind of a fancy EQ. A speaker, all a speaker is an EQ.
Yeah.
A megaphone with EQ on it. It's your final EQing before the sound hits your ears.
And I think what the idea with all that is that it's just all, built in, and you don't really have to worry about it, or a cable doesn't go bad, things like that.
And you don't get stage noise.
Yeah, stage noise. I think the hardest thing about the modeling and that sort of world is right now is just how finicky every little bit of it is. Like, I can spend hours trying to dial in something, which, again, y'all have Kempers. That may be a totally different world. You may just download and it's perfect.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I find myself...
Well, you kind of start defeating the purpose with the Kemper if you take a profile of an amp and you start tweaking it with it too much, because you lose the character of the amp pretty quick. Because what a profile is, which is different from what the Helix does, a profile is a simulation of this amp in this condition with these settings, like
on that day.
So you have to, you find profilers that you like, that make profiles that hear things the way that you do, because some people think this person's profiles are excellent. Well, then I go listen to them and download them or whatever, and they sound like crap to me. They're too trebly, but so that's why you get to know profilers that you like, that actually hear things the way that you hear them, and would dial in an amp the way that you would dial one in.
Yeah.
And like Michael Britt tends
life easier,
Yeah.
because you're just downloading it and it's good.
right. Michael Britt tends to be the ones that I would go to.
Shout out Michael Britt.
Me too.
Michael Britt. Yeah.
I with the Helix, especially with the IRS, because a lot of people, when I was reading about it and watching people online, everybody's like, download IRs, and I found that I like the ones that are in it. I think you have to do a lot to it. Like, so basically, if I put a cab, like, let's say if I wanted, just like a Mezzo, V30, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Now, I may have to go to that amp and, really work with, or go to that cab and really work with the bass, where the, the low end cut is, or the high end cut, and really dial it in for it to hit right, because I think they've kind of dialed it in from a plug and play situation, and then you take it out live and you plug it into somebody's system and you've got way too much bass.
Oh yeah.
And it's all coming from just that cab. And it sounded fine in your headphones. But I find that as long as you're not afraid with the Helix to really dig in and really mess with stuff and really see what it does, and it can be decimal points that really change the you can find a point where the amp's doing something that you like, and if you go 2 decimal points over, then it just totally does something different. That's the way. It's that finicky with the Helix. I feel like if they can get that under control, that way it would make that world a whole lot easier. But still, with the sounds that I'm getting, almost the 3 hours is almost worth it. Because it's so much easier at the end. Once it's saved and done, God, it's so much easier.
Yeah. The key to those things too is you have to dial them in at volume.
Yeah.
And you also, and this goes with the tube amp too. Really, I mean, the tube amp's the same way. I forgot what that, what the phenomena is they call it. I can't remember, but it's as volume goes up, so does bass and treble. So you have to dial in. You have to dial that in accordingly. And one thing that I've learned, and this is also true with tube amps, sometimes what sounds awesome in your bedroom does not work live. It doesn't. It just can't. Because in your bedroom, when you're playing by yourself, you want more bass when you're playing by yourself. Well, it doesn't work when you take it out into a live situation.
That's what I've always battled. That was probably my biggest learning curve in Norm, was like going from being a long-term, because I wasn't gigging that much right before I joined Norm. So like I was literally bedroom playing, and all my tones were very low indie.
Yeah.
And I actually found myself having to like boost my treble a lot. I was almost like dialing in dime bag tones for Norm because of where Nick sat in the mix.
Yeah.
So it was like I was having to work around him, but at the same time, I couldn't have too much bass because it was not. It made the sound worse.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm taken away from Needham or something like that. I didn't realize that until, you know, many gigs into Norm that like that tone that I dialed in at the gig and brought back home and listened to it. God, that's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so fizzy or terrible, but it sounded great at the gig.
Right.
And I guess I've just accepted it as a thing and not tried to look into it too much. You know,
that's another great thing about the Helix. You can have your bedroom tones that makes you happy, and then know what's going to work at the gig too, dialed in already, ready to go.
Exactly. So. That's what's so cool is you can just pull up a set list and just roll them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, that is a whole new thing. If Line 6, if you can figure out how to just make it a slightly, it's a very user-friendly system, at least. I like that it's user-friendly, especially with the software. The software makes the world of difference.
Oh, yeah. The HX edit.
Yeah, God, it's such a good software. But at the same time, if you can find a way to make that more realistic, because like everything loading with like this really, really, I guess, low basing cut where it's like almost doing nothing, like, and then you're having to dramatically change it to get a good tone that'll hit live. You know, those are the types of things I think they could work on, where like Kemper definitely has it down pat, where it's just like, no, just load it up.
Yeah,
and it's badass.
I mean, you got to make some tweaks to the Kemper, you know, but you just can't venture too far from what you got with your profile.
I mean, do you find yourself spending 3 hours?
Well, yeah, because you can jump down the rabbit hole. I mean,
yeah.
You spend 3 hours auditioning profiles.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah. So basically, like the first night I had my Kemper, I did what he said. I found the profile that I liked, or the profiles I liked, you know, for my different projects that I'm in, and then I just tweaked them a little bit, you know. So I was that first night I was probably, you know, up to like 1 a.m. figuring all that out. But then after that, I haven't really touched them much since. Occasionally, maybe once or twice, I've done a couple little tweaks or something like that. But ever since then, it's been just, I haven't really touched it much. I just bring it to the Docentes, because I pretty much use the Kemper mostly for Docentes now, and I just plug it in and play. I mean,
just let the Kemper go.
Yep.
And I've also, you know, because there's been a couple times Nick's invited me up during Docentes and trying to use the Kemper, and I'm looking down. Do y'all ever get confused?
It can be a little confusing at first, but
yeah, I mean, it's like anything else, right? Yeah, I mean, there's a learning curve with everything. I mean, I got confused with Helix when I first, with the HX Stomp that I had for a while. Yeah. I mean, to me, it was a learning curve. When I first got it, I didn't know what the hell to do to it.
Yeah.
But, you know, the more it becomes intuitive, the more that you mess with it. And Kemper was the same way.
Okay,
you know?
So, like, as you used it, it got better.
Right.
Because I thought he'll tell me, like, you know, this button does this thing and this button does the other thing, but I guess since I don't know the unit, it doesn't make any sense as to why. So I'm like, how? Like, and okay. So, and I'm just hoping I've clicked the right button or whatever. But I guess still, you know, to me, it just, the unit itself, I think the amp sounds are way better than Helix. But like looking down at it, it's very intimidating.
Yeah,
it is a very intimidating.
It looks more like a spaceship than like Helix.
Yeah. There's a lot of lights.
Very like it's very laid out. You know, it's you can tell this is a volume pedal. You can tell that these are you know patch pedals. You can but it's very bland in a way too.
Right.
Like the Helix is very bland with how they do things, and I think that maybe what drew me towards it. But at the same time, like with the Kemper, I guess maybe you are saving time that way, is that you're not necessarily having to learn how to profile. You know, you don't necessarily have to be a profiler.
I guess we could if we really wanted to.
If you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the setup, you can profile in your bedroom, you know.
But you don't necessarily have to.
No, there's so many profiles available. Why take the time to do it? You know?
All the best ones are already taken.
I mean, unless you just have an absolute favorite amp and you know the sweet spot on that amp and it's your favorite setting on that amp, you know, because it's hard to maybe find somebody that's going to profile it in that same condition. So you might want to profile that, something that you don't want to take out with you. I don't have that situation, so and there's almost any amp you can think of, you can find a profile for it. Somebody's already done it.
And I think that's obviously something that Helix is lacking on. It's not that they don't have a whole lot of amplifiers. It's just that you're kind of at the mercy of Line 6.
Right, till they release the models.
Once they release it, and it's cool. It is almost like a present when they do, because you're just like, ooh, new stuff. But at the same time, it's still like, you're limited to what's there, except for IRs. I guess you could get an IR that turns one amp into something else, maybe. I don't know. But I like to stay within the Line 6. I didn't go so far as like I'm gonna have to, buy a bunch of IRs to load into it.
Well, that's another rabbit hole.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a rabbit hole I didn't want to go down.
You can audition IRs for hours. I've done it.
Yeah.
And then your ears just start getting numb to it, and you still go, "Oh, this one's the shit." And then you just go, and then you go 100 hours later, and you go, "Oh, this one's the shit." And then all of a sudden you realize both of them sound like shit, and it's it's just a rabbit hole.
Yeah, that to me that seems to be the easiest thing to do with these units. Like with an amplifier, it never really took me too long to like tune into what I liked in an amp, unless it was just super complicated.
There's not as many buttons.
Yeah. I mean, everything's pretty straightforward, but at the same time, I don't have the ability to save it.
Oh yeah, and it changes from room to room.
Yeah, and I feel like and I guess modeling and stuff like that changes from PA to PA.
Yeah,
that you're using.
And it changes from room to room too.
But
you take out what happens to your tubes and stuff at different rooms, different humidities, different weather conditions. Tube amps react differently.
The variable, like I haven't noticed a humongous difference from PA to PA. Like if anything, it's just like, no, I just need a little more treble today. And it's not much. Like it's a 5-second change.
Yeah, they tend to be more consistent because the one thing that the environmental factors don't mess with on the modelers obviously is the tubes and the electronics and how hot the amp is. All that stays consistent. Really, the only thing that you battle with the modeler at that point is the room. A little bit.
Just the room.
Yeah, because I've noticed in in the times that I've used both the Stomp and the Kemper at gigs and straight through the PA, and there can be a difference just depending on how the sound guy has the EQ going through the house speakers. Yeah,
I always ask them to start off flat.
Yeah.
When I'm running direct. I mean, whether they do or not, I don't know. I ask them to.
But you ask
because they're the one that's making the final decision on how stuff lays in the mix out front.
Yeah, that's the gorgeous thing too is in a way you are a sound guy now. So that's a whole nother thing. So as far as like starting to do your own work that way with the Helix stuff or with the modeling and profiling, do you find that's easier? Like being a sound guy?
Yeah, and I mean I've actually ran sound with people. Some people running direct, and I've ran with mic'd up amps. And really and truly, if the player's good and can dial in their stuff, you don't have to do much to it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Most of the time, I mean, the times I've done it, rarely have I even touched anything EQ wise. And that's a sign that the guitar player knows what they're doing. When you look down at your mixer, everything sounds good, and the pointers are all straight up and down,
kind of straight down the middle.
Yeah, that means you just didn't have to move much. I've ran sound for Trey Childress of Mean Street, and he uses a Kemper.
Yeah,
and we just took we just tapped direct off the back of it into the PA, and I didn't have to touch it. He was using those EVH profiles, and Trey's got that good EVH touch, and it sounded like Van Halen. Didn't have to do anything.
It's already kicking ass.
Yeah.
So with that too, have you found that, because if I'm not mistaken, you would actually run sound for like Terrible Twos gigs too, right?
Yeah, if you want to call it run sound, I set it up at sound check,
Okay.
So yeah.
So you're not necessarily behind the board as far as you're just kind of getting it ready to go.
And hopefully we pray there's a friend in the crowd that'll go do some further tweaking as it needs, because things change during the night.
Okay.
That's the downside to having your own PA and with
Have you
your
thought
band.
about going wireless and running?
Well, I do.
Okay,
I do. Yeah, sound check. I'm back there playing and turning knobs and playing and turning knobs while these guys are playing, and it's just a big damn mess. Most of the
Yeah,
time,
that's
sound
what
check.
it sounds like.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's cool to also have full control. That
Yeah,
way,
that's
too.
what I did it. I started off doing it just because these guys' schedules are hard enough to run down between Nick and the other band members, trying to get all 4 people on board
Everybody
for a
at the same
gig.
time.
And then what happens is I get all 4 of them on board, and then I got no sound man. The sound man can't do it.
Your sound man's
And so
out.
then you're making 10 calls or 10 messages back and forth with the club, the venue owner, then your band members again to try to find another date, and then you pray that the sound man can do that one. And I just eliminated one
Cut
more
out the
factor to
middleman.
try to book,
Yeah.
All I have to worry about now is can the band members do it?
Yeah. When I think that's in a way that's kind of a good way to fix a problem. Just be your own sound man.
Throw money at it.
Yeah, throw money at it.
Get a trailer.
But also too, you're making a little bit of money off of other stuff too, right?
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I'm
just-
actually
it's
the sound gig has been very, pretty profitable.
Yeah.
And I didn't intend for it. I mean, I bought that with the sole intention of using it for us, and I knew because of what we make as a band, I wasn't going to make a killing with my sound system. But
Yeah.
now all of a sudden, I've gotten this sound system, and I get calls. And I got to give a shout out to Vicky at Shanix if she listens to this at all. She's the one that's kind of been my booking agent on it.
All right.
Because she's a sound tech, and she's not wanting to do it as much as she used to, but people still call her. So they call her, and then she gives
preferring
them my number.
Well, shout out.
That's what Shanix has been doing lately, because like Lucas is their guitar tech, but he doesn't work there. So
Yeah.
they just when they
They've-
call,
I've got a guy.
we got a guy. We know a really
got a
good
guy.
Yeah, So
Yeah, that's a great way to do things. Well, and also too, even I guess you probably didn't expect to start making money off of it, but I bet it's nice to see that. Okay, it's going to start to pay for itself.
oh yeah, it's already probably paid for itself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Between that and and then I've dabbled in some DJ stuff too. I don't know that I want to get both feet in that world all the time because I'm getting old and I work quite a few hours a week, but that's pretty profitable. And I'm using my PA for that. That ran through my head. I was like, I've already spent the money, so
Might as well be a DJ
yeah,
too.
might as well be a DJ too.
Is that a big difference going from DJ to kind of more a sound man of a band?
Oh yeah, yeah.
a big difference.
It's a big difference because the DJ stuff you don't spend a lot of time EQing. It's you're playing pre-recorded music that's already recorded in a great studio. And the thing about DJing that I'm still learning and trying to learn is you're responsible for the flow of the evening. It's your job to get people hyped up and you've got to know how to identify that kind of thing and when to play the right song and got to have a little energy. With what you're doing too.
You just see, I don't think Dad's done it yet, but I could see him at a DJ gig taking a
One
wireless
earphone
mic.
in.
Yeah, going out to the crowd
Waving.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, is that what you're kind of doing? Like, I've never. I'll be honest with you. I've never I guess analyzed a DJ to figure out exactly what they're doing. Anytime that I've been at a party or something or an event that's had a DJ, it's just been cool to have music. So I just haven't really paid much attention to what the DJ's doing. But do you find yourself having to speak a lot? Like you're having to be a hype man?
Well, if you're doing a wedding, that's part of it is MC. And so if you're hired as a DJ, you're getting hired as an MC too.
Yeah.
You do the fun stuff. You make the big grand entrance to the wedding party when they show up for the reception, and but then you do the boring stuff too, like calling table numbers when it's time to go get in line to get your food.
Yeah, I guess that could get annoying after a while.
Yeah, so you're MCing, but yeah, I'm starting to see, and I haven't done a lot of them. Actually, I've done 2 weddings and a party is what I've done so
but
far.
That's still cool though.
But I am learning that the DJ is very important to the pace and hype of the evening.
So do you find yourself having to I guess judge a room as to what they're wanting to listen to, or are you automatically getting a song list, or is that
both the ones I've done? I've been given the song list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice at least. And
Yeah.
then you just kind of decide how it flows into the night.
Right. And unless somebody specifically has a request, and both of the weddings I've done so far, there was no Wi-Fi available to me there, so we were stuck with what I had. So
Okay.
requests wasn't an option,
Yeah.
you know. So
So unless you've got a mobile hotspot or something like that,
yeah,
you're not.
right.
So and with do you find like the wedding gigs are the fun gigs, or is it just any gig is fun to you? Or
Well, you know, my first love's always going to be performing, you know,
Yeah.
playing live with a band. As far as the DJ thing goes, it's the weddings were stressful, right? Because you do not want to screw up somebody's wedding, you know, by playing the wrong song, and so it's stressful. Your heart rate definitely, your heart rate goes up a few times during the evening, you know.
Trying to play that slow Ed Sheeran song that's real popular, and then like Walk by Pantera starts or something.
right
like,
after it by pure accident.
No, or like you mean to play the Ed Sheeran song and like, but you play the Pantera song instead.
That would be a hell of a wedding.
I did a wedding a couple weeks ago, and I did the ceremony as well.
Okay,
So I'm doing the ceremony.
kind of a double gig.
Yeah, so the first few songs worked great, where the people were sitting down, and well, all of a sudden it comes time for the bride to come walking up the aisle. Well, my computer decided it wasn't going to play that song. It wasn't going to play her wedding march,
Oh hell!
and I'm sitting there freaking out, you know,
It's
because
just
here she
not-
comes. She's coming. She's walking around the corner, and I'm sitting there trying to get this thing to play, and it wouldn't play. It eventually played at the very last second before it became weird.
Yeah,
It played
you
right.
got lucky.
I got lucky. It played right before things got weird, and you know, that was a heart attack moment. You know, and so
Yeah.
it's stressful.
that-
You earn your money, you know, because
Yeah.
you know, a party's a little different. You know,
Yeah.
party's not quite as stressful. It's more loose, but weddings are strict. You know, you
Yeah.
don't want to mess up somebody's wedding.
Yeah. So with something like that, did you find that it was kind of the computer, or was something plugged in?
It was
wrong, or
all of a sudden that next day I went to the rehearsal the night
maybe
before.
that song.
Well, no, I played we went over it 4 or 5 times at rehearsal. Well, for some reason or other, I showed up Saturday with the same computer, and all of a sudden it decided it wanted internet. And the songs were downloaded; they were on my hard drive, you know. But Amazon, I was using Amazon MP3, so screw you, Amazon MP3. But it wanted internet the next day for some reason, or they kept giving me a red line, so you're not connected to the internet, and it didn't want to play anything. So it really screwed me up for the whole evening.
Yeah. So it basically it wasn't, or it was saved to your hard drive and bought,
Right.
but not necessarily. Like it kept trying to pull it from the internet.
It wanted
some
it for some reason or other, but it didn't do that the night before at the rehearsal. So.
That is so silly.
Yeah. Well, had I not went into panic mode, I would have realized I had it in a folder on my desktop, and I could went and played it. Windows Media Player would have
okay.
played it, but in my panic, you know, I
Yeah,
wasn't
you're
thinking about that. Yeah.
Slamming the what is it, the left button.
Yeah.
And just,
Yeah. I was like, "Come on, you MF, you do not let me down."
Not today, not today.
So yeah,
Lordy.
weddings are definitely more stressful, and I do see why DJs
Why you
charge so
pay.
much to do them. You know,
Yeah.
they're stressful.
It was funny. Last week when Matt was on here, I meant to ask him this, and I ended up texting him like a couple days ago. But so in October, me and Dad are doing a wedding for a friend of ours, Bob Summers, and his
Shout
fiance,
out Bob.
Dawn, and. But the way it's working is like they were hiring me to play the guitar during the ceremony, and they want like chill guitar. So I was like, well, I mean, I could do that, but I'm gonna hit up Matt and like have him kind of give me a lesson on maybe some just, you know, because I could do some like basic stuff, you know,
Yeah.
but like I guess I want to be
Just how to be.
yeah, you know, like because he's done that millions of times, and I've
Get a perspective.
yeah, I've not yet done it. So they're not asking me to play like a typical song or anything like that. It's like just kind of chill background guitar music. So I mean, I can do that, but like I want it to be a little more, you know, for the for the moment, you know, sort of deal.
That
like,
might be a cool thing to pull your looper out for.
well,
Just
oh
set
yeah,
kinda
I mean,
like
I
a
definitely
drone
have
tone.
that on hand, but but you know, Matt might be able to show me some more, you know, unique chords or something to
Yeah.
use for or like a progression that might fit that, you know, kind of atmosphere
situation,
a little
yeah.
better. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I never even thought about that too, because that was I've got a buddy that'll be getting married here soon, in October, and
October is like prime wedding
everybody's
month
getting
right
married.
there.
They're getting married at a museum, which is
Oh,
very interesting, right
nice.
in front of a butterfly exhibit.
Oh.
And so obviously there are some things provided after, you know, they're married and stuff, you know, as far as, but they don't really have like, you know, the budget for a DJ or anything. Everything went into the dress and the tuxes and blah, 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 blah. So, but I told them, you know, as like a wedding gift, if they, you know, because they can't really have anything super loud near the butterfly exhibit, that I told them I'd just play acoustic guitar during the ceremony. I told them if they had a request or something that I'd do it, but just like as they're walking out, it's not like we can have a PA out there playing loud music,
Right.
you know, it's in a museum. So, but they would allow that. So, but you know, I started thinking about that. I was like, what the hell am I supposed to play? Like, I guess I'll technically, I haven't necessarily been told I'm in the wedding, but I assume I'll probably be in the wedding, like in some sort of way.
Well, it's just one of those things. Like I could play, you know, like G, D all
just,
day, something like that. You
fumble
know,
through a song or something.
Like,
but I haven't really thought about what exactly I'm going to play unless I don't think they will have a request. I think they'll just trust me.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it'll be kind of fumbled nonsense. So maybe I need a lesson from Matt too.
Well,
or Jake, can you teach me?
Teach you? I can teach you AC/DC song. But yeah, I mean, it
play
may be.
AC/DC songs.
You may want to just see what's popular, what gets played while people are being seated, and just look at that, and just do acoustic renditions of those would probably be the thing to do.
Yeah, but you know, of course, I didn't want it. I just offered to do it, and then they were just like, "Well, that makes a whole lot of sense because now it won't be as boring. You know, it won't. There'll be something happening while everybody's walking out and stuff like that." But yeah, I think it was until Nick did that photo shoot, I never really thought about what all goes into a wedding. You know, like I've been in a couple weddings, but it was more of a, you do this, and then I just did it. You know, it wasn't like I'm a paid worker, you know, trying to make this event happen. And like you were saying, try not to ruin somebody's evening.
Yeah.
You know,
and it can be the same with photography too. You know? Now, in photography, what I learned when I was assisting at that one wedding that I did was you're almost like a director in a sense.
Yeah,
you know,
telling people where to be, how to look.
Like now during the ceremony or whatever, you know, you're kind of just in the back or whatever, you know, trying to stay out of everybody's way and but still be able to get the shots. But like afterwards, when you're doing, you know, the photos with like the family members and lining everybody up, you know, then at that point, yeah, you become like a director. You're having to, you know, like get everybody rounded up, you know, which can be kind of difficult because everybody's talking and having a good time.
Yeah,
but you
probably
also
trying to remember names.
But yeah,
like,
and then sometimes, like in the one I was doing, you know, the main photographer was trying to, you know, the sun was like setting at just the perfect time, and he was trying to get everybody rounded up to get the shots where the sun would look the best, you know, in the photo before it, you know, set too much and then it would be too dark or something like that. So you kind of have to take over, you know, at that point. And
not trying to be rude here, but get the fuck over here.
Yeah, exactly, basically. But yeah, and you know, but it's kind of the same thing with photography. You don't want to, you want to, make sure you at least somewhat know what you're doing, because you don't want to give a bunch of blurry pictures. But that's also too why you take 1,000, you know, in a day. You know, too. So I mean,
exactly.
You get one chance to get it right in those situations. That's what makes it so stressful.
Yeah.
You get one chance, and if you screw it up, they're gonna remember it for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
And that
I mean, they'll laugh at it in 50 years.
In 50 years.
But it will not be funny.
If the marriage makes it that long.
I was gonna say, especially if they get divorced or something, then they'll really laugh at it.
Yeah.
You know, like
they'll say, like, you remember that dumbass DJ that really screwed it up. But.
So just in life in general, that's what mostly the music, just working, DJ, is that anything fun, new hobbies or anything?
I'm getting too old for the hobbies, I guess. I don't know.
He's just a guitar player.
I just wake up in the morning and
I did
go do my job for the earth and earn my tax money and give it away and go to bed and do it all over again.
Earn your tax money, give it to the government twice.
Well, so Blakely, I don't know if you can like show these on the screen when like when it uploads or whatever.
If you would love, I can put any images in
So
whenever
I sent
you want.
Blakely the other day. I sent him a few photos from your Facebook from back in the day.
Oh no!
And it's they're, you know, I mean, I've seen them a bunch, and you've seen them a bunch, you know. But it's some like Wicked Ways stuff where your hair was about 10 feet longer than it is right now.
Oh, where you had gorgeous hair. I remember
Yeah.
that. It's been a little bit, but I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sent me a bunch of pictures. So this is what Jake looks like currently.
Yeah.
No, it's but
Rode hard and put away wet.
when you think about those days though, like, did the hair make sense? Like, did it have to?
Yeah, it made sense
it
then.
has to.
It had to. Yeah, right. You could not really. I shouldn't say you couldn't, because we had guys that did. I had a guy in our band, Jimbo, had short hair, but really,
What did Jimbo play?
bass.
He played bass.
Yeah.
That's probably how I got away with it.
You know Jimbo, don't
No,
you?
no offense on the bass players.
Jimbo was just so energetic. He kind of made
Okay.
up for it that way, you know. But
He's
stage hopping.
Eddie McGee's brother, right?
Oh, really?
yeah, he's Eddie's brother. Yeah,
Oh, that's really cool. Okay.
And,
Well, I'm family related. I don't think I'm blood related, but I think I'm family related.
oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot. That's right.
So
yeah.
Eddie is a cousin of Ralph, so that would mean that he was a cousin of Ralph's of some sort.
Yeah.
No wonder he had stage presence.
Yeah.
He's a McGee.
But yeah, so Jimbo had short hair, and he was in the band that I was in. But for the most part, when you went and go saw a band at Beatty's, and one of the guys in the band jumped out there and they had short hair, you just didn't pay attention to them. You know what I mean? It's just you had to have the look.
So
too.
to get the looks, you had to have the look.
Yeah.
Did it help you? Did the hair help you?
Well, I mean, I was still ugly, right? So,
I mean, you don't have to go that hard,
but it made me feel better. It made me feel like I was
More
in a rock
confident.
band. Yeah, I was in a rock band, and I had that look, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm already starting to lose my hair, so that's where I'm at now. So I'm probably just going to start accepting it here soon. Either that, or I'm going to try out the thing I keep getting damn advertisements for on YouTube. It's I can't remember what it's called.
Hair plugs,
It's-
hair club for men.
It's some sort of hair thing that I can't remember what it's called. But anyways, supposedly if you start before you start losing your hair, then it's not quite as bad. But nah,
So it's the emergency of hair.
I guess it's like take it before you lose your hair, sort of thing. But as far as I thought it was always cool to have long hair, like on stage, but at the same time, long hair is it's a mess.
Oh, yeah.
it is.
I'm trying to grow mine out right now, and I still don't feel like it's working.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're growing, is there a reason you're growing yours out?
Just because I've had it shorter for a
Do
while
something
now,
different.
and I just want to try something different.
Yeah, I go through
I
that
get
about
that.
once a year, and I never make it.
Yeah.
It is, and I'm the worst about bedhead too. Like, so like I go to sleep and I wake up and it's a rat's nest off I look like a lion with a mane. Like it is, my hair is so fine and it tangles and it's just so annoying.
Dude, mine's the opposite. Mine's very thick, and now that it's turned gray, when it gets long, it really your hair turns gray. It changes the way that it reacts to everything too. Where
Really?
my hair would go this way when I grew it long. It don't. It goes this way now.
It goes out.
Yeah, it goes out.
So you're gonna get like a wide fro,
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I look like Emmett Brown from Back to the Future. You know, so
Well, and I wonder.
Great Scott.
I wonder too if it just grows from those areas, like it just that's where it's growing. You know, that's where it decided to grow. I hope I don't lose my hair. That's a thing that runs in my family, so I'm probably going to get it. But it's mostly the hairline with my family. It's the hairline, so we all end up with what they call I can't remember if they called it Easter peaks or something peaks, but it's basically where we have hair on top of our head and behind our head, but the peak is just really, really far back. And like everybody ends up with military haircuts by the time they're 40, you know.
but just embrace the bald.
Yeah, I probably need to. I've got my hair looks fine if you're looking directly at me, but I've got like a bald spot like right here. Like that's in my head.
It's cool to be bald these days, you know. But, I mean, there was a stigma around it. I think once upon a time, that's the reason some of the older guys they don't like to be bald, you know.
Oh, I should have sent you a pic. He was bald at one point too. I should have sent you one of those pictures too.
Oh,
like
you
completely
shaved
bald.
the head?
Oh, yeah, it was completely bald. Yeah.
Like shiny.
I
bald.
thought it would be low maintenance, but my hair grew so fast it was high maintenance. It was
came right
shaving the head every day. You know?
Oh my god!
So
I can't even
I
think
quickly
about that.
gave up on that. You know,
Got to keep something.
long hair was easier than,
Yeah.
than being bald.
That was back when like Chris Daughtry had like just gotten off American Idol or whatever. So
okay.
that was
My
kind of
sister
in
was
for a
in
second.
love.
Yeah, it was in.
My
It didn't
sister
really
was
work
in
for me.
love.
So if I had a shaved face, I looked like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons or something. If I had a beard, it was okay.
Smithers.
But yeah, I looked like a. But
Love Mr. Burns. He's one of my favorite Simpsons characters.
yeah,
What was it? Ketchup, catsup, ketchup, catsup. He didn't know what to call it, so he just kept going back and forth or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, my sister was absolutely in love with Chris Daughtry when he came out, and then she like realized like he's from High Point, and she's just like, I'm gonna go see Chris, and I'm just like, he's not there. It's not what you think.
Speaking of High Point,
but people did run into him a lot.
Oh
out there.
yeah. That's what he played around.
They played at Ziggy's a few weeks ago, the new one in High Point. But
their new music's killing. I dig it.
I got to be honest. I
dig
listened to it, and I mean, I'm glad that they've gotten like heavier again. Like they play rock music again.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just didn't think any of the songs were very memorable.
Nah, I liked it all, man.
Like I don't know, but yeah, I mean that's cool that they're.
I could see where you say memorable. Like
Yeah, I mean, I listened.
I don't
to the
think
album.
there was a pop song.
Yeah,
really
I listened to
in
the album
bunch.
a couple times, and I didn't. None of the songs really clicked with me.
Yeah.
So, and they haven't the last couple albums that they've released. Like I was really into the first few albums. And
Didn't he get in trouble with like his past band or something?
something
Where it
about
was
like
he,
some of the
like,
songs on
stole
the
some
first
songs,
album. I think some of the other band members had claimed to have wrote or co-wrote.
Okay.
And I don't know if they sued him or just made a big fuss about it or something, but it was a band he was in called like Absent Element or something like that.
I remember that. I don't remember that.
I
But
remember
I remember after
Absent.
he was on American Idol, people talked about the band he had just been in called Absent Element.
Yeah.
They used to enter a lot of the Battle of the Bands contests in and around Greensboro, and they said Chris would take it pretty hard if he didn't win.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's had a weird career. Like he's like still
okay. So Chris Daughtry sued the former bandmates. That's what happened. Yeah, in an effort to get federal judge to declare that he's the sole writer of the songs that he recorded before he was famous.
So I think then the former band members were claiming
that, and then he must have got irritated with it. And,
Told him to quit saying it. I guess. Yeah.
And I honestly I don't know Chris's personality by any means, but I definitely respect the music. Like I was never the hugest Chris Daughtry fan. I didn't listen to him near as much as Nick did, but it's cool that he got that far, off of Just a Silly Show too.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got
in reality, he probably should have won.
Oh yeah.
Well, the last time I saw him live, they were still in that realm of like so 10 years ago, 2012, I saw him with Dylan, who was on the podcast before, and they were like still headlining the Greensboro Coliseum, right?
Yeah.
I saw him a couple of years later. They were co-headlining with Goo Goo Dolls at like the amphitheaters
That's still a
and
cool
stuff.
gig,
And now they're playing Ziggy's, right? So they're not a stadium act anymore,
Which is the way it tends to go
Yeah.
for everybody now. I mean, if you're an artist that's been up and coming in the last 15 years, you're going to be doing well to be a stadium act for one or two cycles.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, anymore. I mean, there's just no more Kisses and Aerosmiths and Motley Crue's coming along anymore. So your time at the top's going to be short lived. So I think that these guys have to be smarter. They have to be smarter than those bands in the older days had to be.
Yeah.
Because
take it where
you've
you
got
can
to
get it.
you've got to be ready for the fall, and what are you going to do when the fall comes? Kind of thing.
So with Chris, do you think that was kind of a smart idea for him to handle his career the way he has, or do you think maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so
because he had the opportunity, Fuel offered him.
that's
the
what I
gig,
was kind of getting at. Like,
but
should he have jumped into Fuel? Would that have?
I don't know that Fuel would
No.
like fill out break time. And, so I mean,
Right.
Poor Fuel. But they had good songs though. Like, and Chris
they
would have
had-
sang.
I only
them,
knew one.
He would have sang them well.
Oh,
Yeah,
he would have sang them well, but
they were all about the same.
But they were to me they already had their peak before they ever got Daughtry would have given them a boost, a temporary boost.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it was definitely Fuel that was going to benefit from that. Not
Fuel
necessarily Chris.
exactly. Yeah, Chris, if Fuel would have benefited more than Daughtry would have benefited.
I think something that maybe hurt Chris was that he's a rock singer. That's just naturally how his voice sounds.
Yeah.
But he went through a period of trying to be like the band trying to be pop.
Yeah, there wasn't even a hint of a guitar on some of their songs.
I don't know if that was his choice.
Well, he's
necessarily.
admitted before that he loves like Katy Perry and stuff like that. So, but I think he was trying to stay relevant, you know, in kind of a pop sense. But it didn't really work. You know, some of the songs I still liked some of the songs, I guess, but it just you know, like we were saying a little bit ago, I think it's good that they at least got back to being a rock band. That's how they started out, you know. And I mean,
and organizing it the way he did. I mean, just literally calling it Daughtry and it being a band.
Well, you know, they rehearsed and
he didn't have to do that. He could have just Chris Daughtry and whoever follows him.
because it's a band. It's not a solo act. Even though he probably calls a lot of the shots.
Well,
I'm sure.
Right after American Idol, you know, he rehearsed in the Barry Cope's garage, which is where I used to rehearse with the Liberty Street Band when I was playing with them. In that same garage, I remember being in the garage going, "Man, this is where Daughtry and him started." Yeah, they somebody that Barry was friends with, you know, had something to do with Daughtry's career a little bit after American Idol, and they just wound up using Barry's garage when he was putting his band together.
That's awesome.
It's weird how like him being from the Triad works. Just talking about seeing him all over the place and stuff. Because like how I met him was originally. So Brian Atkins, you met? I think.
I met Brian.
He did the wiring on Chris's house when Chris was building a house in Greensboro or something like
Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge, yeah, somewhere around that area. And so I guess he got to. Did you ever meet Chris at his house?
Oh yeah,
okay,
several times to the point where I don't think it was even that big of a deal when Chris would
They
show
were
up.
just kind of buddies.
So he gave him tickets and backstage passes, and
Fuck yeah.
Originally Mom and Dad were gonna go, and then Dad was like, "Well, this was around exam time in school." And Dad was like, "Well, if you do good on your exam, then you know you can go," because you know I was listening to Daughtry a lot at the time, and I passed.
You
passed.
didn't fail.
I didn't fail, and so we got to go and we got to meet him and everything.
Well, I thought that would be more impactful for Nick than it would be for me. Although it was, you know, a friend of mine Brian got the tickets and he did all that.
And it was like you know, just I hadn't seen too many stadium shows yet because that was like in 2010, so I hadn't been to a lot of them. But you know, it was a great show, and he played a lot, you know, all the songs that I liked and everything. But also too, he did one thing, and it still stays with me to this day, is that he did a cover of "In the Air Tonight," and ever since that show, and every single one of my acoustic shows, I have copied that exact pretty much performance.
Yeah.
You know, just solo. I don't have like a drummer or anything, so I'm always doing the drum part by myself on the guitar, but I've never, not once, had an acoustic show where I did not play that song, and it was because of seeing him perform it live. You know.
Yeah.
So
you wasn't a big was it Phil Collins? Phil Collins fan?
Well, I didn't really know much of his music. But
okay.
I think I knew of that song.
Yeah.
But
that shows that. Well, obviously you weren't alive in the '80s, but if you were alive in the '80s, Phil Collins got crammed down your throat for a full 2 decades.
Yeah.
Hey,
70s and 80s, yeah.
And I watched Tarzan religiously.
Yeah.
So.
Take a look at me. Was that Tarzan? That song? Or was it
no, it was the do most believe in.
Oh yeah.
2 of us, 1 family. Well, he did the whole soundtrack, I think. So, but obviously, a drummer on Tarzan was a smart way to go. But yeah, so I was introduced that way. But Another cool version of that song is I've always loved the non-point version.
That's the version that's the band Sonic Shakedown I was in. We covered the non-point
version. That's non-point does a lot of cool covers that if you like, kind of that almost, I almost want to say new metal, but like kind of 2000s, just American metal, that's kind of what they do. But to do that to a song, and a lot of the times too, I find that non-point kind of like they don't overdo it, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when I'm
not listening to a lot of
covers.
stuff. My introduction to them was their version of "In the Air Tonight," and then honestly, I haven't listened to a whole lot other than that. There was one other song they had that was kind of a hit, and I can't remember what it was called. Something about the highway or something like that. I can't remember. It's like a ballad.
A ballad, okay.
And
some of the more ballady stuff I haven't been really into, but they've got a lot of stuff. Like I got introduced to them by pure accident because we were going to Myrtle Beach strictly to go to a House of Blues show with Disturbed. Like we wanted to see Disturbed. So Non-Point was opening up for them, and my buddies knew who Non-Point was, and I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea who Non-Point was. Didn't prepare myself. But when I saw them live, they were better than Disturbed.
Really?
Not that Disturbed was bad by any means. I'm just saying that Non-Point blew me away, where I was just like, holy shit. Like, just because that room, I mean, the room was literally jumping.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen shows where, like, a group of, like, 30 people are jumping. Like, inside. But the whole entire room was jumping. Like, I felt like the building was moving. Like, but I also had a great position because I've talked about this before. I've got obviously some social anxieties and things like that. So I was literally behind the sound guy. I was at the perfect place. I wasn't crowded. I had a big ass beer in my hand, and I'm standing behind the guy who's literally hearing this too. So like I've got the perfect stereos. It was just the perfect setup. But yeah, they blew me away. With Disturbed, that may have been why Disturbed wasn't so good. I was stuck on the left side of the room, but I was like on a balcony sort of thing, and I was very crowded. But I had a couple beers in me at that point, so like the claustrophobia wasn't as big as a concern. I was just trying to see Draymond. It was a good show.
One cool thing, or I guess cool for Dad, like just all of us being local musicians. Like one thing that I've always found crazy was that you and me have always like had the, I guess you say quote unquote pleasure, but put in quotation marks, of not knowing what to expect from a local show, like if there's going to be anybody there or whatever. But back in his day when he first started, like in what he was talking about, that Club Beatties, like there was never a question, right? Like there was always going to be a packed house.
Always going to be a packed house.
Yeah.
I mean, if you played on a Monday night or a Sunday night, but because Beatties had live music on those nights too. I went out there some Sunday nights and it wasn't jumping, but if you played on a Friday or a Saturday, you were about guaranteed you would come out and there would already be 8 or 9 rows of people waiting for you to walk out.
That's
awesome. It was almost like shooting fish in a barrel, when you walked out there, and
the good gigs.
Yeah, it was a special time, but it's just it's not like that anymore, unless you're a big.
It's very random.
Yeah, unless you're a big name band, that's other than that, you just don't get those kind of crowds anymore. And they would rock with you all night. And my recollection has gotten fuzzy over the years, but I don't think that we played like 3 hours. I don't think we went out there and played an hour, took a break, played an hour, took a break. I think we did everything almost concert style. You went out and you played what you had, and you got done when you got done, kind of thing. So
it wasn't really a set schedule either.
Right.
It was just.
I mean, you had your time that you wanted to get on stage, but the time that you got off, I don't remember that being as big a deal as it's become over the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah. So to kind of, because I mean, obviously in the scene that we ended up in, especially starting, you hit a gig with 5 different bands. It wasn't like that back then.
No.
Where like there was multiple bands.
I mean, they would have certain shows like that, I think, here and there, but no, for the most part, it was an opener. It was an opener and a headliner.
Okay.
Opener and a headliner. They did usually like to have an opener back then.
That's good.
And
Well, you didn't need to have 5 bands back then, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, you didn't need to. I mean, but there was still mystery around it. You know, there's no mystery around it anymore. Everybody's humanized, you know, and which can be a good thing, but it takes the mystery away. You know, when you see what kind of toothpaste somebody uses in the morning because they posted on YouTube or Instagram, you didn't give a shit what kind of, you know, you just couldn't. It was a lot harder to pull the curtain back. So there was a lot of mystery around live music. And I was doing it. I was playing in bands, but I would go see other bands, and it was still mysterious to me. You know, it was
because you wanted to know what type of toothpaste they used.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
Tell Blakely, because I always love this story. Tell Blakely about when y'all didn't open for Pantera, right? But you went though.
I went.
You got to see Pantera?
Oh, I saw Pantera opening for Wrathchild America.
In Beatty's, which is
Beatty's
a club, right? It's
that was so cool.
Right. It was.
So when would this have been?
God, it was
Vulgar, it was around Vulgar, right?
It was Vulgar Display Tour.
Oh,
and the funny thing about it is
the best time.
This was the only show on that whole tour that Pantera opened. Nationally, Pantera was a whole lot more popular than Wrathchild, but at Beatty's, Wrathchild was kings, and they were both on Atlantic Records. So Pantera opened for Wrathchild that show, and I loved Wrathchild. I'd already seen them at Beatty several times. Nobody put on a show like Wrathchild America does. And I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
I'm not super familiar,
well,
but I want to check them out.
Shannon Larkin has been the drummer in Godsmack for many years now, but he was Wrathchild's drummer.
Oh,
and they were called Wrathchild America.
Wrathchild America.
Because they had to change their name when they got the recording contract because there was a Wrathchild in the UK, I think. So they had to, when they got the record deal, they had to change their name to Wrathchild America. And Brad Divins had been in the band Kicks. They were out of Maryland.
Okay.
But their tour was, they toured up and down the East Coast constantly. So they came to Beatty's all the time. So anyway, Pantera did open for Wrathchild that night. And I saw Wrathchild with Dimebag and Phil Anselmo standing right in front of me.
Right in front of them, dude.
Yeah. They were just sitting there with their hoodies like this because it was a cool night. It was the outside stage.
Oh, okay.
And I remember that. I'm guessing
So
it was either early spring or early fall, you know, when I saw the show. I don't remember the date. I had backstage passes, but Beatty's didn't have a backstage, so it was a useless thing. I worked at Peaches Records then, so.
Oh, okay.
But I was a guest of Atlantic Records at that show that night, which meant nothing because there was no, like I said, no backstage
you still had
access.
Phil Anselmo and Dimebag standing right there.
Right. Had I known.
And they were getting along.
Yeah. Well, they weren't talking, but they were standing beside each other.
They were not punching each other. So.
But they looked mad. But they always looked mad. That was their thing, you know.
Yeah.
But
because they didn't,
pissed
Beatty's
off
didn't have a backstage, so they couldn't.
Yeah,
they
they
weren't
didn't
like
have
drinking.
Jack.
the backstage was the parking lot.
Yeah, it was the
parking lot.
The side parking lot was the backstage. There was a little bitty dressing room right off of but it was literally like a closet. You know, it was the door opened and you came right out onto the stage. You know,
so with seeing, I don't know if you actually conversated with them because the show was going on.
No, I didn't. I didn't speak to them at all.
Yeah, but like in watching them, like. Can you put that in words in any sort of way? Because I would love to understand what that would have been like.
It was incredible, but that was during a time where you saw a lot of those types of bands. No. They were fantastic. I mean, they were tight.
They were tight.
I mean, they were as tight as you would imagine they would be.
Okay.
So was Wrathchild, and I was there for Wrathchild, but I was well aware of Pantera. The Cowboys from Hell album had already been out and did a thing, and I'd already owned it, so I was very familiar with Pantera, and I liked them. But of course, I was Wrathchild crazy, and but Pantera put on the show I expected them to put on, and they were great. They were definitely great.
Yeah, and, I would have loved to. I'm a huge fan of Pantera, obviously because of Dime. I would have loved to just experience a solo, like just a solo. I don't need 1,000,001 songs, but just to see the man in person playing, you know, just because to me, like,
I think he's one of, if not the best, quote unquote, metal guitar player that's ever lived.
He just did something. It was just different. Like it was.
Yeah, and he was like you guys. I mean, he started young.
Yeah,
he was already crazy experienced by the time he was in his early 20s. You know, so. And I guess when I saw him that night too, I was thinking, here's another band. They're great. They put out a good album, and but I'm probably not going to even hear of them in another year.
Yeah,
there
you
was
expect
music
them
was
to fall
changing.
off.
That was when music was really starting to change at a rapid pace, But probably had I known what their future was going to hold, I definitely would have made more of an attempt to go shake a hand or something, so I could, because Dimebag went on to be a legend,
Exactly.
amongst metal guitar players, like Nick said. They were, metal bands were around before them, but nobody had the groove that they had and the power and the punch. Nobody had
Just
that.
4 dudes.
Yeah.
And it hits so damn hard.
Yeah, and, it takes a lot to learn their songs, like if you're going to cover one of them. So
just to kind of get that style, to get the like you were saying, the groove.
Well, several years ago, you probably remember this, me and Corey were invited to play with Dustin Foley and Brian Baker.
Y'all did a Pantera
for
cover.
a Pantera tribute thing. But the kicker was we only had 2 weeks to do it, to prepare for it, and we had probably 10 songs to learn. And I tell you, and I played bass for it, and even playing Rex's parts, and only try to do that in 2 weeks was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got through it the whole show. I think it was pretty decent. That's actually the first night I got introduced to Written in Grey, I think, but because I think they played that same show. It was like a whole dime tribute show that Crow had put together, but that was some grueling 2 weeks trying to get all those songs together.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't necessarily say that it sounds like when you're listening to it, it doesn't sound like it's necessarily hard. It just sounds like they're in a different world. Like they're just doing something that, like you were saying, kind of they grew up doing.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like they're it's not that they're necessarily speaking a different language, but they've got a dialect that goes with it that is different than any other piece of metal that you can look at.
Yeah.
You can just tell they were all in sync musically.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if you know this, you may be aware, but Phil Anselmo wasn't the original lead singer in Pantera.
Exactly.
Yeah. Terry Glaze was the first, and he went on to sing in Lord Tracy, who was a fantastic live band as well.
Okay.
But they were nothing like Pantera.
Yeah.
They were very...
Well, it seemed like they were very 80s. And
they
when
were.
They got Phil, it just kind of got heavier and heavier.
Yeah,
and
and they put out one hair metal album with Phil Anselmo too. It's called Power Metal.
Yeah.
At the time, it was hard to get when Cowboys from Hell came out. And luckily, I worked at Peaches. I got it as an import. And it didn't sound the difference between that album and Cowboys from Hell was just insanely different. It's like they just sat down and said, you know what, we're not doing this. We're going to do that.
Yeah, well, they've said that in interviews before. Yeah. They've said, these spandex clothes don't play music.
Phil Anselmo had hair like this. It went up.
Big hair.
So they were like, we're just going to go out
Phil
there.
Phil Anselmo had hair.
We're just going to go out there and wear shorts and tank tops or whatever.
And that dude's
beaters.
his singing regiment, the way he prepares is like a cigarette.
Yeah.
That's how
people don't realize that Anselmo could sing his ass off.
Oh, yeah.
He could. That Power Metal album, he was Queensryche.
Yeah, he could get up there, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I know just in Cemetery Gates, stuff was
well, he's even said in an interview before that in
I don't know if he could do it now.
The high stuff wasn't hard for him. It was actually singing lower stuff that was more difficult for him. That's what he's said that in interviews before.
So maybe you think he was trying to make it hard? He was just trying to make it interesting, and that's kind of what developed.
Well, I'd say to get that girth, on that low stuff that he was doing, and not blow your voice out. There's a trick to that, I would imagine, But he seemed to do it pretty effortlessly. Yeah,
you got to be really comfortable with that sort of stuff. So, what other cool shows have you seen?
Oh man,
even Pantera. Holy shit!
I saw Nuno Bettencourt and Extreme when they were just getting going, way before More Than Words. It was a year or so before More Than Words.
Nuno is he's one of those, just a different beast.
Oh, that show was very impactful for me too. That was my first Beatties show.
Oh,
that I went to
so
go
that was
see.
Beatties too.
That was Beatties. Yeah, that was just right before I started playing there. That was my dream to play at Beatties. I'd been going to shows, and I had to have been 18, I guess, when Extreme came along. It came because I want to say it was in '89 when I saw them. Yeah. And Nuno was a ripe old 22 years old, I think, at that time.
Nuno he's a whip, man.
At 22, he's another one that at 22 years old he was playing way beyond his years.
Yeah.
He was just so mature the way that he played, and they put on an incredible show. And we got to
He's a good singer too.
Yeah, he is a good singer.
Great singer.
But I got to hang out with him before the show.
Oh,
We were
that's
jumping
cool.
over the fence to look. They kept seeing our heads bob over the fence, and they were doing sound check. And I don't remember if it was Gary Sharon. One of them said, "Let them dudes in before they kill themselves." So the security opened the doors, and it was me and my friend Bob Richardson, who I still work with to this day, Boone Pruitt, and I forgot who else was with us. It might have just been the three of us.
Shout out to Jake's friends.
Yeah, that's the only way you're gonna get ratings for this show. Is just say, if you know Jake, your name probably got name dropped.
you
So
got
if you want to hear
name
your
dropped.
name on the podcast, other than that, we're gonna bore the shit out of you. But
I think we've had a good time, man. This has moved fairly effortlessly.
But anyway, we got to meet Nuno. When they got done with sound check, he did his Wounded Bumblebee solo right there in front of us at sound check. And he jumped. At the time, Beatty's had a little pit right in front of the stage, and that's where we were sitting for sound check. And when they got done, he put his guitar down. He jumped down in the pit. And next thing you know, we're on the tour bus watching TV, and it's Van Halen's old tour bus, so that was really cool.
Oh, and you're on Van Halen's old tour bus.
So we're sitting there on Van Halen's old tour bus watching TV with Nuno Betancourt and Gary Sharon. I remember Gary Sharon asked us what our favorite band was, and me and Bob said Kiss, and he started singing Crazy Nights. And so that was fun, and I got to meet George Lynch out there at Beatty's. That was the cool thing about Beatty's, because when you played there at that time, you were either on your way up or you were on your way down. You weren't steady anywhere yet. You were either doing this or you were doing that when you played at Beatty's. So I got to see a lot of. I saw Ace Frehley at Beatty's. He played there.
How was that?
Tell him. Was it the one where he kicked a guy?
Well, a bunch of people kicked the guy, but
A bunch of people kicked a guy.
Well, there was a guy. It was jam packed in there, and I still distinctly remember this too because I saw Ace Frehley on a Friday night. Let's just say it's back-to-back nights. I don't remember what the nights were, but then Motley Crue was playing at the Joel Coliseum the next night, and I went to both shows.
Oh, hell yeah.
But it was jam-packed, and there was Ace Frehley. Lord Tracy opened up for him, as a matter of fact. Pantera's original lead singer. And there was some dude, and he was trying to pick people up so he could move his way to the front and throw them up on stage. So when you got through up on stage, you got through out. So this guy was... And he was drunk, and he was just being real annoying. Well, the next thing I know...
That's an interesting way to make your way to the front.
A friend of mine, who was a pretty big guy, saw him doing it, and he was trying to pick David up. David Webster was the guy he had gotten to, and he was trying to pick Dave up and throw him on the stage. Well, my other buddy just cold-cocked the guy right across the face.
Oh, shit.
And then the next thing you know, everybody laid in on the guy, because the guy started fighting back. All of us got a boot in his ass.
Yeah.
And then...
But Ace didn't?
No, Ace got a boot in somebody else's ass. Another guy had went up on the stage, and it hit Ace's microphone, and Ace's microphone hit him in the nose. Ace's nose was bleeding.
Oh.
And Ace reared back, and he kicked the guy, and the guy got airborne, kicked him right in the ribs, and the guy got airborne. And then Ace gets up in the microphone after all that settled, and he wipes the blood away, and he goes, "Yeah, that's rock and roll for you, right?" But,
oh, God. Yeah, and I honestly, I kind of feel bad for Ace at this point. Like, his guitar playing, unfortunately,
right,
is not
it's fallen
held
way
up.
off. You go see Ace to see Ace. You just go,
Yeah,
you're not
like,
going to be wowed by his guitar or his singing. He forgets the words half the time.
I feel like just
can't
him as
hear.
it would be cool to, like, just meet him.
Yeah, I think so too. I've never got to meet Ace, and I probably had, well, like I said earlier, I worked at Peaches Records, and a lot of people knew that I was a mega Kiss fan. Well,
honestly, I'd probably want to meet Ace over any of them. I could go without like meeting Kiss. I'd like to meet Ace.
People say it's hit and miss with Ace. They say it depends on what kind of mood he's in. He'll honor the pictures if you're doing a meet and greet, but sometimes he won't even talk to you.
Yeah.
You'll go up and stand beside him and take the picture and move on.
He's done.
Yeah.
Like,
where I've actually heard the opposite about Gene Simmons. I've heard he's actually very friendly to all of his fans, in most situations. I'm sure he's had a bad day, but and this is just solely the only Kiss members I've ever met.
It's business.
Right. Only Kiss members I've ever met was Peter Criss and Vinnie Vincent are the only two that I've ever met.
Vinnie was cool. He was a good guitar player.
Yeah.
I don't know about it anymore. I haven't paid attention.
Well,
but...
he did that Creatures Fest last week, and some video got out. And he did a lot of his nonsense kind of shredding, to open the show. He didn't have a band. He played the tracks.
He's kind of like a random guitar player, but at the same time, like, I feel like the stuff he did with Kiss was good.
Oh,
like, I enjoyed it.
Dude, his songwriting is
He
what
revived Kiss, basically.
He revived Kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize, but he basically wrote the whole Lick It Up album.
Yeah, and I that's Actually, that might be my favorite album.
That's
by Kiss.
That's my favorite non-makeup album.
Yeah.
But he also was very impactful on the Creatures of the Night album.
Yeah.
They weren't going to hire him to be the guitar player. They just hired him to be the studio guy. And then they were getting down to the wire and had to hire somebody because they had a tour coming up. So Vinny wound up getting the job.
He knows the songs.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was they said he was an excellent guitar player and a fantastic songwriter.
Kiss has had a lot of good guitar players.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like do you feel like Ace just kind of like stopped?
Ace's peak was 1978, his solo album.
Yeah.
Anything after that, he just kind of went downhill.
He just doesn't care? Do you think that's what it is?
I think so.
Like he just does, it's rock star time. I don't care.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm as big as I'm going to be, and it is what it is.
I mean, it's good that he talks about he got like sober in like 2006, and he's been that way ever since. Good. I mean, so that's good. But yeah, I mean, like he probably never practices.
He wasn't great when I saw him at Beatty's. I mean, the show was great. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm like 10 feet from Ace Frehley from Kiss, to my Guitar Hero.
It's more of the feeling, not necessarily the music.
It was a fantastic show, but as far as Ace's playing that night, it wasn't. Richie Scarlett, his other guitar player, was playing circles around him, and it was and this was in 1989, I guess, is when I saw that show.
Ace.
And his first solo album, I remember when it came out. Not the 78 solo album, but after his first solo album after he left Kiss, I was all excited about it because he still was keeping his identity under wraps. You still couldn't see it.
He was still Ace Frehley.
He was still Ace Frehley, but he was going to wait and unveil his face with his first solo album,
Okay.
So I was all excited about it, and I think I was like 15 years old when it came out, and then got the album, was so hyped over it, and it was disappointing. It wasn't a good album. It really wasn't.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't a great album.
When I would hope that he can at least keep trying to play. He's got a love for it.
People's gonna come and see him.
Yeah,
I just saw him with Alice Cooper a few months ago, and it was great. It was. I mean,
how was Alice Cooper?
Oh my gosh,
I feel like he
fantastic
just keeps getting better.
show. I can't believe I've waited this long to see Alice Cooper in concert because he was fantastic.
That was my mom's first show. So she literally got to see Alice Cooper, and someone threw a I think it was a spider ring up on someone threw a spider ring and she caught it and was wearing it for like one or two songs or something, and then she threw it up on stage because like all the girls are throwing like bras.
She didn't throw a chicken on stage, did she?
No. She threw the spider ring, like the Halloween.
You know what Alice does to chickens on stage?
the Halloween spider rings. That someone had one of those, and she threw that on stage, and Alice put it on. Oh, cool. And that was like her big moment. She was just like, "Holy shit, he did it!" But I can't remember when that would have been. But I know she said that was her very first show, and I think she was about 15.
Oh, okay,
something like that. She was young.
I saw him in 2014 when he opened up for Motley Crue, and it was a good
but
show.
She said that's still probably the best show she's ever seen.
Yeah.
She's seen a lot of music.
I can see that, especially when he was
younger.
younger.
Either that or Garth Brooks. She said Garth Brooks was really damn good too.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
So, but I think she's seen Garth Brooks more than once. So, but as far as Alice, like she said, he was incredible then, and I'm like, well, the stuff I'm seeing now, it doesn't look like he's getting worse. It looks like he's getting better.
He's got his show is down to a science, man.
Just
I mean,
aging well.
He's aging well. He takes care of himself. I don't think I think he's been sober for 30 or 40 years now.
Yeah.
And he just gets out there, and his show is, I mean, it's put together. It's there's no dead space. He's perfected it over the years, and he keeps the audience engaged.
He's got a fairly attractive,
Yeah, what about Nita Strauss?
Yeah, Nita. Yeah,
she was
great. Yeah, she was great. Yeah, she was great.
Because I've heard, and I've only paid attention to Nita. That's the only real one that I pay attention to. But I've heard he's got multiple guitar players.
Oh, he's got Ryan Roxy. Okay. I saw Ryan Roxy at Beatty's in a band called the Electric Angels back late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember. They were great. I forgot who they were opening for. Yeah. He is the reason that I really took a liking to small box Mesas, because...
Oh, okay. That was kind of his style.
And that, which, I've asked him on Instagram since then, because he said open forum, ask me any question about any gear, something like that. And I said, what about that little Mesa that you used to use in Electric Angels? And he went, man, that was so long ago. I don't know if I remember what I was using. And I was like, well, that bums me out because that made me want, because that was in the day where everybody had quad stacks of Marshalls and racks
big amps.
and racks that were just full of blinking lights. I don't think anybody even knew what the half of the stuff did. They just liked the blinking lights.
Just plugged it up because it looked cool.
And here was this guy, and the band was really cool. They were called the Electric Angels. You can still go look at their videos and stuff online. And he had this little small box Mesa on stage, and it sounded huge, and it sounded incredible, you know. And I was like, that made me want a small box Mesa, which of course I could not even almost afford one at the time.
I don't know. I mean, trying to afford a Mesa in general is difficult.
Oh yeah, so Brian Roxy plays guitar and Alice Cooper. I'm trying to remember the other guy's name.
But
he does have 3 guitars.
Comparable, like I mean, they were all
Ryan's
pretty
a good player. You know, Ryan Roxy and the other guy are definitely more old school players.
Okay.
You know, where Nita's
So
the whammy bar. You know, and of course she's easy on the eyes too.
Yeah.
You know, that helps.
You think that's why he did it that way, having 3 guitar players? His style.
Well, because before he had Nita, he had Orianthi.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I didn't know he had Orianthi.
Yeah,
Well, she's badass.
he basically said, "I want a pretty girl that can play." You know, from what I've read, that was kind of what he wants with his tour. I guess he saw how well it worked with Orianthi, and when she left, he wanted to
The whole
continue.
Michael Jackson thing.
Yeah.
Have a nice girl that can fucking shred.
Yeah. Right. So he wanted pretty girl that would keep people's attention, that could play too. He didn't just want eye candy. You know.
Yeah.
So.
She's got to be, and Nita does, from what I can tell. Like.
And they showcase her. You know, she's the only of the 3 that gets a solo spot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she's the one.
Yeah.
She's the one.
They do a jam session where they all kind of go back and forth, but she's the only one that gets sole center stage for 30 seconds, you know, during the night.
Other than, maybe Alice.
Yeah, other than Alice, right. You know,
she's getting the rest of the show.
She's the only of the guitar players.
So, best show you've ever seen?
Period? Are we talking arena shows?
I'm talking period. Just the best damn show you've ever seen.
It's the show that made me walk away thinking, wow. I mean, I would probably go back to one of the Beatty shows. I mean,
still Beatty's.
And I don't know if like Extreme, but because it was my first Beatty show, I don't remember if maybe that's why it impacted me that much, or if it was just really that good. But I'd still go back to Extreme. It's a lot of my first concerts. You know, Kiss had a huge impact on me when I saw them for the first time. That was in 84, 85, I think, when I saw them for the first time.
Okay.
He saw the show that I would have always liked to have gone to, which was Motley Crue and GNR in their prime, like in 87.
Oh, I saw the 87. That was the Heroin Diaries tour.
Yeah, that was Girls, and Appetite had just been
nobody
out for a little
Appetite
bit.
had been out for several months, but Sweet Child of Mine had not came out yet. Guns N' Roses was just a little blip on MTV until Sweet Child came out.
Is that the one where? Okay, so I know my other siblings they were big Motley fans, and they got to see whatever Tommy was on, like the roller coaster, or flipped upside down, or whatever
that's
it was.
the one, right?
He wasn't on the roller coaster. He did. He had the.
Or maybe he was just
He had the
spinning.
gyrating kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't on the roller coaster.
Okay, well then maybe that's
the roller
what it was.
coaster was the.
That was the one I
That
saw.
was the end of the road tour.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a new one.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I knew he like flipped upside down and like
Yeah, I
played it
saw
upside
that.
down.
Yeah, that was on the Girls tour, and
They say that's the best show they've ever seen.
it was
So
a great
both of them.
show. But Guns N' Roses was awesome too.
Yeah.
You know, and I was the resident metalhead at my high school, and nobody else knew who Guns N' Roses were. Everybody was going to that show
Because of Motley.
because of Molly.
Yeah.
Right. So, and this was 1987.
Yeah.
Like we talked
Prime
earlier,
time.
there was a lot of mystery still around rock and roll. So if there was a big show came to town, everybody went.
Yeah.
And
That's what was going on that weekend.
right. But nobody knew who Guns N' Roses was. Well, I'd already been wearing that vinyl out all summer, so I was well
So you were
aware.
excited to see both.
Yes, I was excited to see both. So that was a fantastic show too.
But I think there was another one that my brother always talks about, and I believe it was Motley and Metallica that was up here.
I don't know that.
Or
they
no,
ever toured
it
together.
was Metallica and Guns N' Roses. That's what it was.
Yeah, that one.
Metallica and
yeah.
Guns N' Roses.
That was
Metallica
like early
was
90s.
opening up
Yeah.
for Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
My brother said that would be number 2.
Really?
If he had to say one was. But he said Metallica kicked GNR's ass.
Well, I remember because there was like a lot of feuding going on between Axl and the guys in
Yeah.
Metallica and stuff.
Well, I went on 3 years later. I saw Guns N' Roses again on the Use Your Illusion tour.
Oh, okay.
And Use Your Illusion had not even come out yet.
Yeah.
It was so late. Axl kept pushing it. The album was supposed to have been out for like several months, but it kept getting pushed back. So they came to Greensboro, and
So that would have been
That's 91 or 92.
91?
91,
Yeah.
92, something like that. And I went, and they didn't come out forever. Skid Row opened the show. So
I bet that would have been cool.
Oh, it was
too.
awesome. It was the original Skid Row line. It was the Slave to the
So
Grind tour.
Sebastian.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was the
fuck
Slave to the Grind tour. And so
Good
Skid
heavy
Row
stuff.
played their show at like 7:30, and they were done at like 8:15. Well, we sat there, and we sat there, and we sat. Guns N' Roses didn't come out until almost 11 o'clock. It was between
Oh,
10
hell.
and 11 o'clock, you know. And, of course, Axl gets up in the microphone, and he said, "We've been watching you guys on the closed-circuit television. You guys are a bunch of animals." Because the fights were breaking out left and right. The crowd was getting
off.
antsy, you know, and people were getting restless and drunk and everything else. And so we saw. Of course, we was hearing a bunch of songs we didn't know because Use Your Illusion wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
You know, we heard Coma and all these other things, which was a great song. It was great live. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a good song, even though I'd never heard it before.
I don't
was
know what
like,
it is, but it's good.
And anyway, so we left. We left probably about midnight, and I got up the next morning and saw on MTV. They said last night in Greensboro, Guns N' Roses played till 2:30 in the morning or something like that. They just played and played and played all night long at the Greensboro Coliseum because they came out so late. And
That's got to be fun to have that much control over a show it's that big.
yeah,
Like you can literally make the call as to when something's going to happen because you're that cool, I guess.
yeah. I mean, nobody left.
Yeah.
People were
People
mad.
stayed.
People were mad and raising hell, but they stayed.
Yeah, they stayed and they jammed till 2:00 in the morning.
And I think that was Axl's thing. I think he wanted to see how far he could push the crowds, you know, until just to see,
Yeah.
just see how much
See
do you
what-
how much
it's
do you love me, kind of thing. you know?
A social test.
Yeah. But I mean, that was a cool show. I've seen so many cool shows. I'm just trying to remember. Like I said, the Extreme show was huge.
Getting to hang
to
out
me.
with Nuno
Getting
that
to hang out
early
with
too.
Nuno, right?
would have
Yeah,
been
one of my first
awesome.
shows out there, you know, too. So there were so many good ones came to Beatty's, but as far as Coliseum shows go, I would say, I mean, I saw Metallica and Queensryche. That was a really good show. That was on the
and Justice.
that was the Justice tour.
It's my favorite album.
There wasn't many bands that came through town that I didn't see. You know, I saw most of the big guys. Oddly enough, the only two huge bands that I don't think I've ever seen was AC/DC and Iron Maiden to this day.
Okay.
And I love them both, and I've never seen. I'm going to Iron Maiden in October, so
Okay.
I'll get
So
to
you'll
put that
get
one to
that one.
bed.
Check that
I hope none of those guys die before then.
Yeah. Well, I think we had one of us had the opportunity to go see Maiden, and we just couldn't take it.
It was Priest.
It was Priest. That's what it
Priest,
was.
yeah.
It was Priest.
Yeah, well, none of
You
y'all
seen Priest?
No, I've never
seen
been a
Priest?
huge Priest fan. I mean, I like them, but I've
Okay,
never been a
okay.
See,
huge
like
fan.
I'm like more Priest than Maiden, so like I was
like
really
both of
wanting to
them,
go, but
so.
none of y'all were vaccinated, so
Yeah.
like
Well, they were gonna check us at the
Yeah.
door, and then it was funny. What was it? And not to downsize what COVID was, but I'm just saying, like, I think there was when we were up in Virginia Beach. When we was kind of afraid of that. We was kind of thinking we were going to get, like, I guess carded for our vaccine cards. And Steph is vaccinated, but I chose not to get it. And someone in line messaged a copy of a fake vaccine certificate to Needham while we were in line going. It didn't matter. They didn't care. I think we had to wear masks until we got seated or something like that. I can't
That
remember.
was very short-lived, checking them at the shows. The Alice Cooper show, they checked us at the show.
I was
Well, I
highly
mean-
surprised that when we went and saw.
I think you should be
couple-
responsible if you're sick. Don't go out to a show.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
But
be
unfortunately, and that's not to get off on anything that's not fun, is that's the reason we get rules put upon us because people will do that.
Yeah. I think everybody has to be responsible, and
Well, if everybody thought the way you did, we wouldn't have to have rules and regulations,
yeah,
right?
Well,
But-
yeah.
so-
Well, and I'm not afraid of rules and stuff like that. But we just didn't know. We didn't prepare.
Right.
Like we went up there, we were having a beach trip, and we were just so happy. Really, I went up there for Marcus King. So I had already seen Chris Stapleton before, but Marcus King was
He's
opening
awesome.
up for him, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to see Marcus King so bad."
That dude can
Like,
sing and play. It's not fair.
Hey, I went to Atlanta to see Chris Stapleton, and that was when he was like monster big, and that was an incredible show. He was like an angel. Like it was straight up I don't know, the energy, the way it sounded, it was so insanely good. The second time I saw him, it wasn't quite as good. And I think it felt more like Chris is tired. I know he said multiple times like he'll never play more than like 3 gigs in a week. But I think I caught him at the end of it, is what I'm trying to say. I think I got him like right when, like, dude's tired. He played a couple songs, him and just like 2 of the band members, like him and the bass player and the drummer, like right after, like they forced another 3 songs on the set that nobody else was playing or whatever. And it was still good, and it was more rock, you know, and some people were leaving during that time because it was getting late. But, and he sounded really good once we got to the end of the night. Like, but I think I caught him when he was kind of rough. But Marcus took that show.
Yeah.
He just that dude is, I can't explain it. I mean, there are times in a band scenario where everybody just kind of knows what someone else is going to do or how to react or things like that you pick up on. But like this guy it felt like he wanted people that had no idea, like had no chemistry with each other. And he's like walking around the stage and using himself to like cue people and throw people in on songs and different parts. And I feel like if you saw him, it would be different every single night.
Yeah, probably.
But he's like literally calling the show as it's going, and it's so damn good. They he only had one horn player. You could tell he wanted more. He had a guy going back and forth between trumpet and trombone. And there was another mic set up that never got used, so I don't know if something happened to one of the guys or what happened, but he was going back and forth, and like just when he'd like tell that guy to go in, like that guy wasn't playing all the time. If he wasn't playing, he was singing behind Marcus, but how he just orchestrated it all, it was so damn good. It was like an hour that I wanted another hour of. I needed more after that was done.
I think that's how both of us felt when we saw Nick Johnston.
Yeah,
You know, 'cause
Nick Johnston was so short-lived.
He only played like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, he didn't stop the entire time.
Yeah.
It kept going.
I don't even think he ever said anything in the mic. I don't.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny. He walked out.
He kind of looked sleepy.
Yeah, no, he walked out on stage like in a hoodie. Like he had a hood on his head.
Yeah.
And, like, it's like he just got off the bus.
And his hair's
Just
like all sitting up on top of his
Yeah,
head.
I would say
He kind of looked sleepy.
I would say that's a rough way to tour. Yeah. Especially he's from Canada, too, and he's down here, and he's touring the United States, obviously probably like out of the back of a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleeping if he gets to sleep in a hotel, it's probably not a good one.
Yeah. But it was incredible.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
He's amazing. I took a lesson from him.
How'd that go?
It was good. It was an expensive lesson. It was a Skype lesson.
Yeah.
I say expensive. It wasn't as, I want to say it's like $50 or $60 for
That's
maybe
not horrible.
for 30 minutes or something like that.
I mean, for someone like him, I get that.
But I wanted him. Really, what I was going after was I wanted to see his legato patterns. Something like that, and because that's what's amazing about him is like his legato and string skipping kind of thing that he does. But he really didn't want to get into any of that. He was just kind of like because he had me play for him just a little bit too, and he said, "You're a good player." He said, "You just need to practice different scales and different ways to go at it." He said, he basically told me that I was too old to worry about what he's doing.
Really?
In a nice way.
Really?
I mean, that's the way I took it. He was like, "You're already got cool stuff ingrained in you. You just need to not
change it.
Don't
That
change
sort of
it, but practice different scales and different soundscapes kind of thing." You know what I mean? That's kind of what he was pushing me to do. He said, don't waste your time worrying about what I'm doing. Take what you're doing that's already cool and make it cooler. Basically, is what he told me.
Okay.
So.
Well, was that worth $50?
It was, because I'm sitting here talking to you and say I took a lesson from Nick Johnston. So that right there is worth 10 of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I've already told the story at least 50 times. So yeah, it was worth it.
You got your money's worth out of stories.
I've got to brag to a lot of people I took a lesson from Nick Johnston. So yeah, that was worth it.
I feel like he'd be pretty down to earth though.
He was. He was super. I mean, it was a live lesson, Skype lesson, and he was.
We only got probably 2-3 minutes with him, really, because
Yeah,
we got
we
him
talked
to
to him
sign some
briefly.
CDs, and we talked to him briefly, and he seemed pretty humble. You know?
Yeah.
He didn't almost like he didn't want to take our praise, because we were just like,
Yeah, he
Like,
Mind blown.
I had heard him before, but I'd never heard him live, and I was just like, oh my god.
yeah. I don't think
'Cause
you'd
he
ever
wasn't-
even heard of him when I took a lesson from him.
He
No, I
wasn't
hadn't.
doing like.
Well, we didn't even go. We actually talked about this last week.
It was
we didn't,
not.
We didn't go to that show for Nick Johnson. We went to see band Intervals.
Intervals.
Headlining.
Yeah, I remember when you went to that show.
Yeah.
And those dudes, if you want a tight band that's going to give you the same show every night, Intervals will do it.
Yeah.
By God. But nah, Nick Johnson, that like, I could tell that the melody, I remembered the melodies. Everything else was a damn blur. He was like just spitting out memories
Yeah.
of a melody.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is incredible. This is something. And I think he was using the bass player from Intervals, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think so.
That,
Yeah. I
that
think it was
same
the same
bass
guy.
player. He played Nick's set. And I don't know about the drummer. I don't think it was a different drummer.
I think it was a different guy.
I think it was a different drummer, but at the same set. So like, you could tell that they both in Intervals. They're based out of Canada too. So,
Yeah.
So they wanted Nick, but this was before Nick like really hit it big. I think that he was still early in with Meza, and now he's playing Oranges. But
Johnson's playing Oranges now.
Yeah.
Because he was Mesa and Friedman. He
Yeah.
was going back and forth between Mesa and Friedman at that time.
so he was using a Meza. It was like a Triple Crown or something, or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a triple. I think it's right. I think it's Triple Crown.
And I think he was using an orange cab at that time, but I don't think he was still pretty heavy, set into that mezzotone, which he does. If you listen to his newer music, there is a different sound there. It's not quite as tight. It's a little more kind of spongy, kind of like as we've
a lot
talked
of
earlier.
players that live in the lead world, they like that.
Yeah.
They like the spongier tone. And it's hard to get both, sometimes out of the
Exactly.
same thing. So you have to pick what's more important to you.
And I think for him, it probably made sense,
Yeah.
or like a Friedman or something like that. It probably made sense to go that route. But nah, his tone there. I think that's why his sound was so good, because there was not a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
Really, it was just him just letting you.
I think all he
feel
was
it.
doing there at one time, I think he was just putting a little delay in the loop, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that was it.
Yeah, it didn't. I'll be honest with you, it didn't look like he was doing much of anything other than his eyes. I think he was sleeping while he was up there and dreaming, and I was cool with it because I was just like, keep going, keep going. And of course he had to stop, but like,
'Cause there was like 5 bands on the bill.
yeah, I still have some Snapchat videos of all that stuff because I was just so amazed. I was like, I gotta capture some of this. But as far as shows, I think if I had to say like there was a greatest show, it was probably the first time I saw Chris Stapleton, just because like that sound will never leave my ears. I don't know what it was, but it was the loudest, most beautiful sound, and how they got it to travel like that. Like, you could probably have heard this shit a mile away, and it wasn't ruining anybody's ears.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
and I know
those-
I was out in the garden, but like at the same time, it was still like, to be that loud, I almost feel like it should have shattered my ears.
Yeah.
But it was so gorgeous, and it was addicting. It was like, I need more of this in my ear right now. Like,
Well, the PAs everybody's using on these big shows now, there's those line array systems. They're made for clarity, and I'm not saying that's what that was, but that's
it
what
may have been.
But you're going to these
It was
Coliseum
different.
shows.
It was different from Atlanta to Virginia Beach. It
Yeah.
was like same stage setup, sort of.
Yeah.
But the sound was different from one place to the other.
Oh, yeah. Well, these
I feel
newer
like it was
PAs are
louder.
they're just geared for clarity and not to knock your head off. They're just geared for clarity, volume and clarity.
Yeah, it's
know?
like it was just insanely loud, but it was just EQ'd so well. And I don't know if it was a sound guy thing,
Well,
where,
probably
like,
both.
Yeah, it could have been like they've got a different sound guy, and when I saw, and it's not that it was bad, but like even Marcus up there sounded way better than Chris's tone, which was weird to me because like that Chris tone that I heard in Atlanta was just so good.
Yeah.
It was just so good. Which I think all he's using is just a little like Princeton amp.
Yeah, that's all he
You
uses.
know, and he's just it seems like that dude changes guitars to get different sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the hollow body's coming out, he's about to like rock your face off.
Yeah.
Like it's about to get loud.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like he would just change guitars to get a different sound. He didn't use any effects that first time I saw him, and I heard effects the second time. So maybe there was some gear changing.
Maybe so. It could have been.
But that first time, yeah, like, because you can hear in his recordings, there's like tremolo, or he'll use some flange and some phase sometimes. But mostly it's that tremolo, and I didn't hear any of that in the first one.
It's almost like you have to have that on Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't there, but it was incredible. It was incredible. Well, and actually, the second time I saw him, he didn't play Tennessee whiskey.
What?
So, yeah, he's
probably sick of it.
well, he was playing a lot of the newer music. He did play a lot more acoustic in the second one, so maybe that's why I didn't like it quite as much, because when he was playing electric more, I was getting more of that cool sound.
Just before he hit really, really big, he played at Ziggy's.
Yeah.
About a week or two before he did that Justin Timberlake thing on that award show, which really skyrocketed him.
Yeah,
he was an overnight success after that. I say overnight success. He's been slugging it out,
writing songs with everybody,
and then playing in little seedy bars for years. But he
the dude got famous at what 40 something.
Yeah. But he would just been at Ziggy's a couple weeks before that, and then just overnight he just became way too big for Ziggy's, like in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, I was listening to him in Steel Drivers, and I loved that sort of stuff. And then when I started listening to him, I found that Johnson Brothers stuff, which is more kind of rock blues, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm cool with all this. Bring it all, like. But definitely I think that first gig would probably be my favorite. Like, if I have to say, there was a sound, there was a night, there was a thing going on. I was also blitzed, so that
adds to it.
That could be why I thought he was an angel. Like, I straight up, like, it felt like I was interacting with God.
You didn't say that right up front. Now I'm doubting how good he actually probably was that night. Well, and to kind of preface that, I was drinking up until, and I didn't drink anything during, but there were other things going on that I had to do because I wanted to, and I did not have a panic attack.
Plus.
I was high. I was smoking weed. I can cut that out if I want to, but I don't really smoke weed very often. It gives me panic attacks. So
it gives you panic attacks?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. I love CBD. I'm cool with that, like as a sleep aid or something like that, but you don't really get high off CBD. But it was the scenario that I was in. I was like, I cannot say no. So it was, cause I went with Sky and her family. And so I'm sitting there with her Uncle Mark, who's a veteran. He's done 3 tours in Iraq. This dude I madly respect. Very small fella, but like he was a scout. He was in it. Like he saw some shit, and out of his sock came the joint, and nobody else wanted it. And I was like, I can't. I was sitting right beside him, and he's like, nobody else is smoking. I guess I'm gonna smoke it by myself. But he passed it to me, and I joined him. And from then on, so the whole show we were sitting, and then from then on we stood up. And I think that all of that contributed, I'm sure. Because I hadn't smoked in probably 8-9 months. And then just flat out smoked half a joint with him. And I was lit by the end of the night. Like, we were in a dangerous Uber and shit at the end of the night. It was bad. Like, we were flying and I'm just smiling. And we're just flying down the road and this guy's just like, we're good. We're good. But well, luckily we made it home safe and everything. But yeah, so yeah, there was a lot of conditions for that show, I would say, but it was still really, really good.
Your memory of it's all that counts.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, I love that I remembered that much of it, and I still have video and I listen back to it and stuff too, and I enjoyed it. I also got the guy that opened for him. Can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. I will place it here in the video. But he was really good. He's kind of more of a, I call him kind of hillbilly rock. That's kind of what I call him. It's not very gainy, I would say, but it almost sounds like some boys on a porch. Like just some boys in the hills on a porch, just jamming. Really soft voice guy, Brett Cobb. That's his name, Brett Cobb.
Gotcha.
And very nice voice. He sang a couple songs with Chris at the end of the night. I wish they would have pulled Marcus King on the stage to sing with Chris. I would have loved that.
Oh yeah.
I wish I could saw that in the second one. What about you, Nick? What was your favorite show?
Gosh, I don't know if I can answer it. I mean, you know, that show I mentioned earlier, the Daughtry show was really good. It was like Dad used the right word, I think, impactful. You know,
It did some stuff for you.
Yeah. I'd say like I mean, when I first started playing guitar, you know, he took me to see Van Halen when they reunited with David Lee Roth. Musically wasn't the greatest show.
Yeah.
Eddie didn't sound very good that
Did
night.
you get to see Wolfgang on bass?
Yeah, that's when he first joined.
Wolfgang on
he
bass?
was like 16,
Okay.
something like that. But Eddie didn't look in the greatest of shape for this show.
Yeah.
You know, but that was, I mean,
It
it's still
seemed
cool.
like
It's all
Eddie-
freaking Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah,
you know?
it seemed like Eddie had like a moment where he was like not good, and then all of a sudden he's really good, and then
Well,
he's
he
dead.
got some false teeth,
And
you
maybe
He
know,
that's what it
looked
was?
real frail that night. He
Yeah.
looked real skinny.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't notice that his playing was off all that much. Yeah, I thought it was neat being beside the stage, which
we were on the side.
for Nick that was probably not the greatest because we were behind the PA.
Yeah.
So everything sounded muffled, but if you took 10 steps the other way, it was
Yeah.
crystal clear.
Yeah.
And but being from the side there, you could actually see everything that Eddie was doing
Yeah.
from the side. You know,
he
I
wasn't,
bet
even, he
that's
wasn't
awesome.
even using wireless.
no, he was using a cable. He kept, him and his
Yeah.
techs had to keep coming out there and grabbing that cable and slinging
That-
it so wherever he went, you know.
Oh,
That was
okay.
the infamous show, and you can still find it on YouTube, where they ended with Jump, and it was I can't even remember how it went, but like I think the sound engineers placed the keyboard track in the wrong key.
But they
Oh,
didn't.
God.
They didn't.
How
I
did they
actually
do that?
They didn't. I actually saw an interview recently with Eddie's guitar tech on that tour.
Oh, okay.
And he said that right before they did Jump, he said the guitar tech said I had another guitar set up for Eddie for Jump,
Right.
and Eddie's guitar went out of tune, and he said he tried to give it to Eddie, and Eddie was telling him to screw off, that this guitar would be fine. Well, that guitar was out of tune.
Yeah.
So what happened was this Jump started, and Eddie thought that the backing track was in the wrong key. So Eddie started trying to tune his guitar
Yeah.
To the backing track.
to the backing track. Well, just what it was is Eddie's guitar went out of tune from the previous song, and the tech said I had another sign. He said he don't know that Eddie really ever forgave him for that, but he said I was trying to give him a guitar that was in tune,
Yeah.
and
and he just wouldn't take
and
it.
he wouldn't take it. And it was planned that he was supposed to take that guitar at that time.
Yeah.
And Eddie decided he didn't want it. And
He was feeling
So
that
it was-
guitar,
it was a-
even though it was really out of tune.
it was a comedy of errors, really, is
Yeah.
what it was. Eddie's guitar was out of tune. Eddie thought the backing track was in the wrrong key, and he was trying to.
So
and
can't
so
someone
he made
like
it worse.
stop the show?
No, they played the whole
They
entire
play.
song.
Oh, it's on. Yeah, you can find it on
You
YouTube.
can find it on YouTube.
I need to find
Oh,
Greensboro,
it's there.
2007.
Everybody
Van
was
Halen.
talking about that Eddie was drunk again, and that's not and the other, but he wasn't. He wasn't
Yeah,
drunk.
it was just a.
It was the
comedy
second.
of errors.
It was the second show on the tour. The tour opened in Charlotte, so they were still working out the bugs and getting the rhythm down, I guess. But
Yeah.
You think of the being the guitar tech for Eddie Van Halen. You
Sure,
want to
it's-
talk about
that's
some stress?
scary.
yeah, yeah.
Like I was thinking about a wedding is like, nah, like
Yeah.
you screw up that man's guitar or his show.
He
like,
said he
oh
told
my
Eddie.
God.
Eddie got on him about it. He said Eddie kind of chewed him out after the show, and he said, I told him. I said, no. He said, I tried to give you a guitar that was in tune, and you wouldn't take it.
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew.
But Molly Crew was awesome, you know, and when I saw him in 2014, but it was like it
Were they
wasn't,
chubbing bees then?
huh? Yeah,
they Chub and
it was
Bees?
a little bit of Chub and Bee. And then Breaking Benjamin at Ziggy's was awesome.
Yeah, I remember that. I missed that.
Yeah, that was a great show. And even just recently, John Mayer, like a couple months ago,
Oh, yeah.
was like incredible. Like that was such a great
Yeah,
show.
I was telling him like I kind of felt like, not that I love John Mayer, so don't get me wrong here, but I was kind of like, yeah, I could go without seeing John Mayer live, and then he's like, no, go.
Well,
Like,
it's just,
Yeah, I would
you
like to see
need to
him.
see him.
it's amazing how he doesn't have to get the crowd going or use his voice or like he doesn't have to say anything in between the
doesn't
songs. Like
really talk
like
to
he's
people.
captivating you with his guitar playing, which his guitar tone was God, it was so good. His guitar tone was amazing. You know, I think that, I mean, he's obviously an amazing player, but I think that just added to his
sound,
the greatness of him. Now, you can, you know, as far as his singing voice, he can't sing a lot of that high stuff anymore. Like when he did Waiting on the World to Change, he sang it in the same key that the studio version is in, but he sang it like really low. Like he changed the melodies to be, because he just can't hit those notes, you know. And he had vocal problems there like 10 years ago.
I think he had
like polyps on his vocal cords that he had to have surgery to have removed. But dude, I mean, it was just so captivating. Like just him as an artist was just seeing him do his thing was like just. You know, I mean, Brianna was like, you know, she's not like a musician like I am, but I mean, she's just like,
just that
captivated. Good. You know.
So what did he do? Some of the newer stuff, like
Nice. He did a lot of the my favorite song off the new album is probably a song called "Till the Right One Comes," and I didn't think he'd do that one. He ended up doing it, and then I think in the middle of it, he put a cover song in the middle of it, like a mashup. I don't remember if it was like a Hall & Oates kind of song or something like that he put in the middle. I don't remember what it was, but like he did he opened with like the big one from the new album, Last Train Home. You know, he opened with that. That was a great show.
Hell yeah!
And of course he ended with Gravity. You know,
good old Gravity.
Great way to end the show.
If this tells you another experience I've had with that song. I think this was about a week ago. Me and Steph were rolling through a drive-thru or something, and the song came on, and she got upset and paused it.
We're not listening to this until we get out of the drive-thru.
And then we ordered the food, and then she started playing it again, and we thought it would be a little bit before we got to the window, but then the line just started going, and we got it. She's like, and stops it again. And I was just like, what's wrong?
Anytime you listen to Gravity, though, I mean, the studio version's great, but you got to listen to it live. Because, he really goes off he doesn't really do that in the studio version. It's way more mellow.
Yeah, I think this was the studio version. But when we were pulling off, she goes, and then restarts it. And I was just like, okay, so we're going to do this again. But it made me giggle so hard. Because I was just like, nope, have to listen to that song all the way through. Cannot stop in the middle.
Yeah.
Cannot. Yeah, that song's pretty heavy. What else? I knew as far as kind of timing. How long do y'all want to make this Father's Day episode?
It's up to Dad.
So, we've probably already bored everybody half to death when they're going to listen to it.
We're at 8 o'clock right now, so it's 8 o'clock where we are.
I mean, just if you have more topics, you know, if there's something else you want to talk about, I can hang out a little bit longer. I have a 3:30 wake up alarm, so
3:30. We get up early.
Yeah, I get up early.
Yeah,
well, it's my choice.
Bed,
I could go in at 6 and I could sleep a little longer, but I like to get off early. So
okay.
So I prefer to work 5 to 2:30, or if something comes up, something breaks, I'll stay to whatever I have to stay to fix it. But I try to get out at 2:30ish. That gives me time to get to the gym for a little bit, and then get to the dog, and then feel like I got some kind of life after work.
Good old Finn man.
Yeah.
So what exactly do you do at work? Just out of curiosity.
I'm a calibration specialist.
Okay.
We have these huge test stands that some of them are bigger than this room that test these units that we build, and my job is to go and make sure that all the devices are reading what they're supposed to be reading. So the test technician, if they see something is supposed to be 5,000 psi, it's my job to make sure that it's really reading 5,000 psi. Right.
So those big units, what are they used for?
Well, the units themselves aren't always big, but the test stands that we test them on are. They go on all different kinds of aircraft.
Aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an aerospace company.
Okay. So that could be pretty important if you're putting a part into a plane. And
believe me, when we get audited,
what you say it is.
Every time we get audited by the FAA or anybody, they come in our department and they want to see records.
Yeah.
They want to make sure how we're doing it and.
Consistency is key.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a problem like that where something malfunctioned and may have caused some bullshit?
Yeah, yeah. No, not behind any wrecks or anything. I mean,
good.
Our company has been investigated. Not investigated. That's the wrong word. Investigations have came into our company where a plane has crashed.
Just to make sure you ain't a part of it.
Yes, to make sure we weren't a part of it. If we had a part on that plane. And the weird thing about it is they'll bring it in, it'll still be all muddy with swamp water on it and stuff. And then
Look at this. Is this yours?
Yeah, and the poor guys have to test it in front of these investigators, you know. And I mean, how can you guarantee something's still going to work right like that?
Yeah,
you know,
after a crash,
right.
it's kind of hard to.
So I don't know what
do
criteria
that sort of
since I've never actively been involved with it, you know.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, none of our parts have ever caused a problem, you know. So.
Well, that's good. It means you're doing your job right.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
That's got to be interesting, though. I mean, as far as working on that sort of stuff, so is it more electrical, or is it like? So for those readers, is it?
For what I do, you know, you have to have some kind of working knowledge of pneumatics and hydraulics and electronics. You don't have to be an absolute. You don't have to be an absolute expert in all the fields. That's what we have engineers for. But you have to have working knowledge of all three.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot, I mean, not to bore everybody to death, but a lot of my job
interested.
A lot of my job is taking electrical signals, basically, and it converts it. It says when you get this much voltage off of this device, it should equal to this much pressure on your reading.
Okay.
So you have pressure going into the device, and it strains. There's a strain gauge inside the device, and as it gets strained, it puts off a voltage signal. The more strain it gets, the more voltage it puts off.
More voltage it gets.
So if this thing's seeing 5,000 psi, it should be putting off a certain voltage, and that voltage goes to the test stand, and it's reading the voltage and saying, "Oh, I'm seeing 5,000 psi voltage here."
Yeah.
And
so
that's
then
my
you
job.
can calibrate the meter to match that.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And very important. So if I ever get on a plane, thank you for making sure that's calibrated. Because I'm scared.
Well, I can tell you, we get audited to
so.
death. So I mean, we get audited by everybody.
I think you have to take a lot of that stuff seriously, but at the same time, it's like, you know, you gotta. I mean, you gotta have a job, obviously. So like, they couldn't go ahead. I don't think. Is that do you think that's their first reaction, is to like blame a part on something, or did they just kind of already know what happened and have to go through the motions?
I don't know if they already know what happened, because it happens sometimes so high up in the sky and over the ocean, you know. So I don't know.
Unless someone survived.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think their investigations that they have to put on are pretty involved, and they have to have some kind. It has to be systematic. In a way, and I think that's just part of it.
Yeah. So you think the majority of the time it's more of, you know, just let's make sure we cross all our bases.
Yeah.
And make sure we left no stone unturned.
Right.
That sort of thing.
I mean, it's weird knowing that we've got parts on some of these famous planes that's just disappeared, you know. I mean, you know, like that one.
That's insane.
You know, that one that disappeared a few years ago that they just couldn't find a trace of, you know, that Malaysia. Air. Yeah. I mean, that was a plane that we had parts on, so it's weird knowing that our parts were. I don't know how many we had on that, but almost every Boeing plane that we have something on it, you know. So it's kind of eerie knowing that, you know. There's no doubt that none of our parts would have caused that. You
Flight 370.
Yeah, what kind of plane was it? I forgot.
It's an international passenger.
Was it a Boeing 747? Was it
aircraft 9M MRO?
No.
What's that? Is this one? This may be a wrong one.
Should say like a Boeing or an Airbus. I can't
there
remember.
There it is. Boeing 777.
777.
2000
okay.
ER. That's a big ass plane.
Yeah, I think we have some sort of hydraulics on that plane.
Was that kind of a? So this is just like a passenger plane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is
That was the spooky one. That one.
And this whole thing just disappeared.
Yeah.
How did I not know about this?
Heard about that?
Oh, that was on the news every day for like months.
2014. Yeah, I was not paying attention to the news then.
I mean, I haven't heard any updates on it. I don't think they've ever found out what happened to it.
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of quick passaging over this, but that's what it seems like. Yeah, it's still gone.
Because when
cause unknown, some debris found.
They found some debris washed up on like a little island, but that was it.
Yeah,
they've never been able to locate.
It's just straight up gone. There were 227 passengers and 12 crewmen on there.
And the pilot didn't indicate there was any problem. Last time he checked in, he was kind of on course. He checked in, and then all of a sudden the plane went off course and started flying really low, and then it just made a turn out to the middle of the ocean and out to the Indian Sea?
Maybe he was just hoping to put it down, not in a city.
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
they think he just went out to they said like that where the ocean is some of the deepest in the world,
yeah.
and that was it.
Just hoped.
Yeah. So they
That
don't
is
know if the pilot
crazy.
maybe crashed on purpose. They don't know. You know, they have no. They just don't know what happened to that plane.
Yeah. And I guess from what they pulled from the remnants, there probably wasn't much left.
I'd heard that something had washed up on the shore of like a small island out in there somewhere, but they even weren't positive that it came from that plane. You know.
Yeah.
So
I guess even if it's just like a piece of metal, it's hard to
that's kind of what it was.
where it came from,
Yeah.
and you just think that it was part of that plane because that's what happened. You know.
But if that plane went down in that part of the ocean, I mean, that's like I forgot how many miles under the water that the wreckage would be, and almost impossible to find. Because it especially makes it difficult where they don't even know where to look.
Yeah, it says
Yeah.
presumed
Yeah.
is Southern Indian Ocean.
Yeah,
Well, good old Wikipedia says that. I don't know how truthful it is.
yeah.
Was coming from Paris. Holy crap. That's insane. 0 survivors. So if anyone did survive, they've changed their name.
Yeah.
Or lost their ability to know who they are.
Right.
Or they've made a Wilson out on some random island. You know.
They're talking to a volleyball.
Yeah.
But it is eerie when you hear of a plane crashing like that, and you know that
Wait a minute.
we don't have a lot of flight crucial stuff that we do.
Yeah.
And probably be better if you don't even air a lot of this. I'm probably not even supposed to talk. Well, I'm not giving anything top secret away, but we don't do a lot of flight critical stuff. Where we at. The most flight critical stuff that we have is the V-22 Ospreys. Have you ever seen those? It's a helicopter 1 minute, then the propellers come down and it's an airplane.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I want to know what that looks like. I need to put a picture.
they
See,
fly
this
over.
stuff is cool to me.
They fly over King a lot. The military
It's
uses them.
a
V-22 Osprey.
V-22 Osprey. See, this is stuff Cody's into as well. Oh my gosh.
We used to, I guess we still do the cooling fan motors on the propellers there.
This is a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess there's no shields because it's a helicopter.
Well, and then
I feel like that. Yeah, this does definitely look like a military.
yeah, so it
something.
comes up was a helicopter, and then those propellers do that, and then it turns into an airplane.
And it just starts shooting forward.
Yeah, and it's we do the cooling fan motors on the propellers there, and that can be flight critical because if those clutch fan cooling motors don't function, those propellers don't work.
Propellers get hot or something.
Yeah,
or
something like that, and so that's one of the
probably. Yeah, I guess they're spinning so fast, you know, and the bearings and shit probably burn out, and you'll lose a propeller.
Yeah.
You know what was funny is the day a few weeks ago that Paul McCartney played here in Winston-Salem, I was loading stuff like equipment into my car, I guess getting ready for a gig or something, and I noticed, so this was in King, and he played in Winston-Salem, but I noticed there was like 5 helicopters like going above or kind of near where I was.
Flying
I could
him
see them.
in.
I was like, I was just like, I doubt it, but I was like, I wonder if that's Paul McCartney like flying in on a helicopter or
Could
something.
be.
Yeah,
You know, because there was like 5 of them. I mean, it wasn't just one. You know,
he's got the ability to
Yeah.
do that. I mean,
Yeah, he does have that. I mean, more than likely, he was staying at the Cardinal Hotel in downtown Winston.
Yeah.
That's where that's where Slash was staying when Guns N' Roses played.
yeah.
yeah.
So,
But hey, that was cool too. You know, there was a lot of Slash sightings around Winston-Salem.
Yeah,
he was down at the Grand Theater down there. Took his sons to the movies at the Grand Theater.
Oh hell yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I lived down there the last time they were here, and
Yeah, you live like literally just right across, about right across the street.
right, and so of course I didn't get to go, but I just walked out in the carport and sat down and listened.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so
I was there. I went to that show too. I
got
forgot that.
3 or 4
I forgot I've
songs
seen Guns N' Roses 3 times now. Yeah.
I just kept telling Mama what song the next song was. But I think we only listened to about 3 songs, and we went back inside, and I was like, "Well, that was cool. You know, that was cool. That was
It was
that
a good
close."
show.
Luckily, I was on the good side at that time, so that went down there near Cherry Street. I lived in one neighborhood that was really nice, and then like immediately moved out of it and ended up in a condo. And it's not that it was like the condos were super ghetto or anything, but we were just like on Ghetto Central. Like, so like you walk out the driveway,
He lived not too far away from where you grew up.
right up the road, and you're instantly like, you're scared slightly.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That end of town could get rough pretty quick.
Yeah, and luckily I had a lot of good experiences there. I had a lot of good experiences with like, just like talking to people. Like it was one of those things that like, because I had never been very, I guess in King I never really had to, unless I grew up with you, I never really had to talk to anybody, and for the most part. It's pleasantries around here, so it's just like, excuse me, like that's your interaction with somebody, or I'm sorry, or something like that. You're not really like going into deep conversation. But like I hit a gas station at 1 a.m. coming back from a gig or something, and just talk to like,
go do that.
yeah. But I mean, if you gotta get gas or whatever it is, but like, and just talk to the most interesting people, and and it's sometimes it's a good conversation, sometimes it's not. But it was still like, to me, if I wouldn't have got that experience with, you know,
that's not
a different side of the world, or what I feel like is, because I'm, you know, in King, it's just kind of like I don't know. It's a small town. It's, you know.
Well, it's not just a Winston exclusive thing too. Like literally the other day, when I got into Mount Airy for my gig, I stopped at a gas station there to get some gas. And I mean, this was like 4:00 in the afternoon, you know. And some random dude was about to walk up to me, and he asked me and like another guy if we were going to Pilot. And I was like, no. Even if I was, I'd still would have said no.
What time was it during the day?
It was like 4:00 in the afternoon.
Oh.
You know,
Was it a dude and a son? Did his son look like him? Was it two guys?
He didn't have a kid. It was just a guy.
Well, it's not a kid.
Oh.
His son is my age.
Oh, okay. So it's an older man. And
these two guys have been beating around King for back when my dad owned that convenience store. But anyway, they do stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
They'll hit you up sometimes in the King Shopping Center there with
Need a ride?
Shamixes, all that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they're after whatever they get off of you, you know.
Okay. I had a fellow one time. This is I may have told this story before, but it was one of the funniest times. I had my nephew with me, and it was late-ish. It was like 12-ish, and we had stopped at a gas station. And I don't know if you've met my nephew or seen my nephew, but he's humongous. He's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's like 240 pounds or something.
Okay.
He's humongous. He's a big football player, tight end type. We need to talk football. But anyways, I left him in the car, and he was kind of freaking out. He was kind of like, I think he was about 16. And I looked at him and I was like, well, you can come in with me. He goes, I don't want to do that. Lock the doors. Like, what do you want me to tell you? So I go in there, and it's just funny, as short as I am compared to him. But I come back out, and there's a guy knocking on his window. And of course it's freaking him the hell out. And the guy's not really like, I don't think, I mean, he could pull a gun at any moment. I don't know. But I just kind of yelled. I was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, you got a penny, man? And I just literally, I just handed him my change from whatever I got in the gas station. I just handed him my change. And I was just like, see you later. And he goes, see you later. And that was it. I mean, he was nice. It was just, he had saw Gage sitting in there, and he was just doing his thing or whatever. And I got back in the car, and he's like, thank you. And I was like, you would have had a better chance beating that guy up than I would have. You know, I don't know what you're saying.
God just must needed something for a scratcher or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I gave him like 35. I don't know what he needed it for. I think I gave him like 30 cents or something like that. It was like a dime and a nickel or something. I don't know what it was. But it was just like, it was a loose change, you know. But it was like stuff like that where it's just like, that guy really wasn't meaning to harm. He could have, you know. I'm not saying you should be careful, but if I didn't get some of those experiences, like, you know, honestly, if Gage wouldn't have been there, I might have been a little more freaked out too, you know. But it was, at that time, I was kind of a parental figure, so it was like, you know, hey, get away from my boy, like that sort of thing, you know. But yeah, and you are a Panther fan too. Mm-hmm. You are a Panther fan. Is that until you to the day you're gone, or is that like subsequent on somebody?
No, I mean, since the day they came to town.
Okay,
you know,
so
yeah.
always been a Panthers fan.
Yeah, I was watching the very first game, you know, and I've missed very few games since then, at least on television. You know, I don't go to a lot
at
in
least
person,
on television.
but yeah, I've missed very few games. I think I've probably watched some, if not almost I don't want to go out there and say I've seen every game that's been on TV, but I've not missed many.
Yeah.
Over the years. So.
Who's your favorite Panther player
Of all
ever?
time?
Of all time. Because I have one. I've never asked Nick this either.
I'd have to
well,
go.
I could probably guess yours.
I think you probably know mine.
Mine's going to be a toss-up between Steve Smith or Julius Peppers.
Right
Some
there.
great choices.
Yeah, it's Steve for me, but Julius Peppers, that's top.
Yeah.
Steve is my top. That's just the ultimate.
If you see this face again, that mean I score again.
to me, Steve Smith is exactly like Dale Earnhardt. Like that's the level that man is on for me.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, he's a competitor. He was a guy that wasn't really, they weren't making a big deal out of him out of college or anything, and he just came on and he's a Hall of Fame level receiver.
He wasn't even a wide receiver, I think, his first year. He was a
Really?
kickoff.
Well,
guy.
he was a wide receiver, but
I think they probably rotated him in, I guess.
was more of a special
very
teams guy.
quickly. He got brought in to be a kickoff return.
Right. And his very first touch as a kickoff returner was a touchdown.
Right. But then
'Cause he's Steve Smith.
I think he still, even that game, got in as a wide receiver, and then he just became a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Well, but he also continued to was it punts or kickoffs? I can't remember.
It might have been both.
Okay, but
Didn't he do that in the Super Bowl though?
yeah,
Didn't he put one back in the Super Bowl?
They would still use him for that, even all deeper into his career. Just not every time. But that's all he got brought in to do.
Yeah.
And then they just saw his talent, and then he quickly got moved
so
over to wide
good.
receiver.
That seems to be a thing when you first get, because like Christian's first year, he was he would return punts.
More of a punt
You
guy.
know, of course, after they saw how good he was, they didn't let him do that anymore. But
Yeah.
but
I'm guessing yours is Cam Newton.
yeah, mine's Cam Newton. I just because I was kind of out of football for a little bit, like before he came on. The Panthers were horrendous. It's funny. YouTube
We had
NFL
Jake Delhomme.
Well, no,
Julius Peppers, and Steve Smith.
NFL Throwback on YouTube posted a game the other day. It was Panthers versus Bears in 2010. So this was Jimmy Clausen. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he completed like one pass the whole game. I mean,
it was bad.
I really did not remember how god awful he actually was. Matt Moore had to come in and
I remember Matt Moore for a little bit.
Clausen was another one that kind of got thrown to the wolves. Carolina didn't have a great offensive line. He didn't get a chance to get a lot of experience.
I didn't know any of the receivers' names besides Brandon LaFell.
Yeah.
Like any of the other receivers, I had no idea who they were. So that was that couple years, like 2009 and 2010 were just not good years. And then like he comes along in 2011, and like I watched his first game against Arizona, and I was like, whoa. I've seen this kind of with Michael Vick before, but Cam could actually throw the ball when he first came into the league. His first two games he threw like 400 yards, and now they lost both of those games. Yeah. But he threw like 400 yards in both games, and then he could also like run you over and stuff like that. I don't know that I ever really seen something like that before. And then like he was very charismatic, and I've always loved that. Like I love his personality, and like he made it fun. It wasn't like just a kind of a stick in the mud sort of thing like a lot of quarterbacks might be. Or something like that. So
I noticed you mentioned, as far as O-line is concerned, I haven't, until recently, I haven't paid attention really to personnel that the Panthers have had. But do you think that's always been a problem? Because obviously it was for us last year.
Well, Carolina's had some good offensive lines in the past, but I would say more times than not they haven't. They haven't had good offensive lines, but. The years that they have were years that Carolina got either deep into the playoffs or to the Super Bowl. So I mean they've been to two Super Bowls.
So you think that's a big deal? You think
offensive line's a huge deal?
Yeah.
I mean, you would not. I don't think you'd be hearing Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith's name as much to this day had they not had the offensive line.
Yeah, somebody on Facebook the other day said that Troy Aikman was like overrated.
Yeah, he was an average quarterback. He really was. He just had all day.
Yeah, he just got time.
Think of the team he had around him, like Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith, and whoever else was on the wide receiving core at the time.
Deion Sanders.
Deion Sanders.
Yeah. So
no, wait a minute. Sanders played defense. He was a quarterback. Yeah, he's a cornerback. I'm sorry. Yeah, Deion Sanders. But he was on that Dallas team for a while. Yeah. That was such a big deal because Deion was such a star in the baseball world.
Yeah.
And then he just decided he was going to go play football, which he was a two-sport in college.
Yeah.
But when he left college, he played strictly baseball for several years, and then said, I'm going to go play in the NFL. And then he was a big star there.
Cool.
Honestly, and I think I think my second favorite player might have to be Luke. Because
Luke Kuechly
and one thing about it was like it literally like shattered my heart when he retired.
Yeah, I think it hurt a lot of us. Like I wasn't expecting it. That's for sure.
But like he's one of the greatest to ever do it. You know, even in his short time that he had in the NFL,
so effective.
Yeah,
he was so football smart.
Yeah,
he was athletic. Obviously,
very intelligent guy.
But he was very football smart. You know, he knew the play the offense was going to run before they knew it. You know, I mean and they just couldn't trick him.
You've got that kind of, I guess, vocabulary when you've got a Tom Brady on defense, and then literally the man he's stout too. You know.
Oh yeah.
He's got good hands. You know. He was
the total package.
Yeah, he could do it
all.
all.
He had a lot of interceptions in his career too. You know, several pick sixes. My favorite one is probably the one where he stiff armed Tony Romo in the end zone. That was
I don't remember that.
That was
during Thanksgiving Day.
That was Thanksgiving game
during
2015, and he picked Romo off twice in a row. But the first one was a pick six, and when he got to the end zone, Tony Romo was there acting like he would stop him, and Luke just threw his face.
Yeah,
in his
I don't know if that was a good decision.
Tony Romo never played in another NFL game.
Nope, he didn't.
Really? Was that his final?
I think he might have played like the preseason a little bit. That next year,
but not a real game.
That next year was the Dak Prescott year.
Yeah,
because Tony Romo got hurt in preseason. And so then that's when Dak took over. And then Tony was like, okay, I'm just going to retire.
But that was Tony's first game back that year due to injury. It was going to be the Thanksgiving. And that was going to be the game that the Panthers were going to lose.
They were going to lose.
They were undefeated at that point, and they were like, oh, they're going to face a Romo Dallas. And Carolina just beat them like a drum.
Dude. Like, yeah, that was not a good day for Dylan Joyce.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't.
and Tony Romo, they got hurt again, and then he never played another regular season NFL game.
Yeah, so...
I like him as a person.
Yeah,
I think he's
nice.
a good personality. I don't know if I would say he was a good quarterback, but
I think he was a good quarterback that just could never really like get there.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I mean, he won a lot of football games, but he
kind of paper.
He's kind of like a Drew Bledsoe was.
Yeah.
You know, Drew Bledsoe was that way.
Really good, and then
in the year that the Patriots got there, he got hurt, and Tom Brady took over, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
But Drew Bledsoe played for Dallas too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
I didn't know.
So what's y'all's predictions for this year? You think we're still gonna suck or maybe improve a little bit?
Yeah, I'd like to see
I don't
your
think anybody
perspective.
knows. I mean, all the critics are predicting Carolina to tank again this year, but I just don't see how. I don't see how they can tank with the players that they've got.
Yeah, we've got a
Scott Fitter did a really good job, I feel like, in the offseason. You know,
great cap situation. If there's only if there's something that will fail, it will be something at quarterback. I think that's the only thing that.
But
makes
if you
sense.
have an offense, I like we said a little while ago, if you have a good offensive line, and on paper they have a good offensive line right now.
Yeah.
On paper, nobody knows how it's going to work until you actually get down to the nitty gritty.
You
But
hope these guys will work together well.
But I think with a good offensive line, you can take an average quarterback and win if you have a great offensive line. Because if these quarterbacks are good enough to get to the NFL and you give them time, they're going to pick you apart.
Yeah.
If you give them time. And
so on so is that you trying to insinuate that like maybe Sam Darnold might have a comeback?
I
think
so if he's got a good offensive line. I don't know that he's going to see a game in the regular season yet. There's still part of me that's going to say Garoppolo or Mayfield's going to wind up in Carolina.
Yeah,
we've talked about that a lot too.
Because it's so weird that Cleveland's going to be Carolina's first game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And NFL loves drama for ratings.
Yes.
And you know how much Baker. Look, I don't know what Cleveland's doing, but Baker is not going to play for them.
No.
His money is guaranteed. So he's going to sit on the couch. And I don't understand why like Cleveland thinks, well, if Deshaun gets suspended, like, well, Baker will still play. No, he won't.
Yeah, he's made it clear. They burnt that bridge.
Like they're talking like, well, Baker just needs to be an adult and like just show other teams his value. Like
Deshaun didn't do that, and you're paying him.
Deshaun Watson's got like another 4 more lawsuits filed on him. Like,
well, I mean, Deshaun technically could have played last year.
Yeah,
he just didn't. It's not like he got in trouble with the NFL yet. We're waiting to see what happens. And the way it's happening, it sounds like he's going to get some suspension time.
Yeah, I think wherever Baker ends up, whether it's with us or somebody else, like I think he's going to be good.
I was telling Nick this that I kind of would rather have Baker over Jimmy Garoppolo, and I don't think it was because of play, but I think that if you buy low on Baker Mayfield, like we were talking buy low, buy high. If you buy low on Baker Mayfield and give him a chance, I feel like he's the type of guy to throw that in somebody's face. Like he would want
He's done
to
that
do
his whole
that.
career.
Exactly. So it's like if there's any guy that you want to give that, like Jimmy Garoppolo's a great quarterback, but he's
people
average
wanna talk about,
and he doesn't stay healthy.
People want to talk about Mayfield not being all that great last year, but like, he was battling through an injury too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to be.
He played
really
the whole
great.
time,
And he
hurt,
played, right?
you know?
He played well at times. It's Garoppolo's thing too, right? I saw supposedly, like I read an article. I'm sure you guys read it too.
He wins games when Tom Brady's playing.
Well, they said Carolina walked away from the table on him right now because San Francisco said they're not budging on the money.
Yeah.
Whoever takes him is going to have to give them $26 million.
Yeah.
They're going to have to take his contract over. A lot of teams are sitting back and hoping San Francisco cuts him because then they get him for whatever.
Yeah, whatever they decide.
Yeah, but San Francisco right now, as they said, that's pushed Carolina away from the bargaining table on him because they're not going to go in that deep on him.
Yeah, and from what I'm hearing from, just what we've heard out of Trey Lance's play, like it sounds like they probably need to keep Jimmy G. That's kind of what it sounds like.
Well, that's because he's kind of unproven. So they're talking about
Trey kind of needs some time to Mahomes, if you will.
But the thing about Garoppolo too is they said he's still rehabbing his shoulder. He's not ready yet. He's not game ready.
Yeah, why would you want to?
Drop almost $30 million on a guy that you don't even know if he's going to be healthy enough to play, and if so, how durable is he going to be?
Yeah, and then you got to think about what you got to do with Sam. Because you're going to have to pay him too.
Well, they got to. Yeah, Sam's guaranteed $18 million for this year.
So much more sense if Cleveland would just
do an even
trade and take Sam, who will play for them,
as a backup,
and give us Baker. And because Deshaun is, I'm a big Deshaun Watson fan, but the allegations, there's got to be some sort of punishment. Because other players have gotten punishment for things like this, whether they did it or not in the NFL. So they've got.
Yeah, the NFL takes the viewpoint. They're
going to have to be consistent.
The NFL takes the where there's smoke, there's fire viewpoint.
Exactly.
And they're like, well, maybe you didn't do it, but you shouldn't have even been in the situation to get accused.
How did you get this? Yeah. How did you?
I mean, that's why they suspended Roethlisberger that time.
Yeah, like why do you need all these personal massages when you can literally get paid for massages from any just our team, our medical team, our medical team, could probably rehabilitate.
Not from the steam and cream.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is even if he put himself in the situation, he's gonna see some sort of backlash. I don't know what it's gonna be. I don't know if it's just gonna be a big hefty fine, but I have the feeling it will be some suspension. So even if it's 4 games, you got to have a quarterback to play for you.
Yeah,
unless
they got Jacoby. I mean,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, it would make more sense to even gamble on Sam Darnold at that point.
Right.
It would make more sense to do that because at least he's going to play and
you
he's
have to
a
keep him
startable
for a year.
Yeah, and he's a startable quarterback, and you're going to pay Baker the same amount of money.
Right.
So we both win.
Yeah,
we get out of Sam Darnold. We end up with
Darnold
Baker.
will be happy to be there and be a backup.
Yeah, I think Sam Darnold at this point he knows he will be needed in the NFL because of the quarterback situation.
Yeah,
he knows he will be needed.
Poor Sam's not had a team that had an offensive line yet.
Yeah, he has. He not truly. I do think, like, me and Nick have talked about this before. Like, I don't think it's necessarily Sam Darnold. I don't think it's necessarily like the things that he's doing. I think if he could find out a way to be a leader and really lead a team, then he would be successful.
He's just this like chill California kid that just kind of goes with the
flow. Yeah, he's kind of collecting a check.
Yeah, there's that, but he's never had anything to since he's been in the NFL to instill that confidence in him. That takes confidence. You've got to, when you walk into a huddle full of pro football players, I've got to imagine that you've got to have some confidence. To go in, and I still think
he's young. He just turned 25.
I think he's still got the confidence of a rookie player because he's never been able to really get out there and prove himself. I think when he got out there and won some big games and got some swagger, I think you'd see Sam come alive in the huddle there too.
Yeah.
I just think he's a talented quarterback that's never gotten in an ideal situation.
Yeah, and it's weird to see too, and we've talked about this before, but it's weird to see that, you know, Sam when he's on it, because somebody else always isn't. Mm-hmm. That seems to be the case.
Right.
Like you can tell, it's like Sam made a perfect throw at the perfect time, and it landed right on his receiver, and we couldn't catch the ball.
A good example of that was the Minnesota game that y'all were at last year. Now he did throw an interception the very first pass of the game.
Right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. But there was that was probably like Robbie Anderson's worst game as a pro. Like he dropped like several in the chest.
Yeah.
You know,
Robbie's the mouthiest player on Carolina, and he's the least proven in terms of he's got more mouth than he's got talent.
The dude has speed. Like so, if he gets the ball and he's got a couple yards on a defender, he's gonna get it. He's gonna take it to the house.
He was great in 2020.
If he can catch the football,
you got to catch the football.
I'm not sure what happened last year. 2020, he was fine. You know, and I think that he can bounce back. You know, I mean, I think he had a down year. Yeah, he should probably like not talk as much, but
right.
But
don't talk if you're not playing well either.
Yeah.
But do you think Matt Corral could be an option? Do you know
I've not seen him play yet. They seem to be high on him right now, but they've been very open about the fact that he will not be the starter. He's not ready to be a starter.
Well, I think this may be something that Nick can kind of, you know, get on, because it kind of gave me Cam Newton vibes. Like Matt Corral is, I wouldn't necessarily call him the good guy. He's definitely pretty, but I wouldn't call him
handsome fellow.
Yeah, but he's well. It was funny when they showed that picture of all the rookies together, and you could just go across the screen going from player to player to player, all those rookies together, and all like half of them look mad. Yeah. In the image, and the other half have their eyes closed, or they look doofy, or something was going on like that. And then it got to Matt Corral, and he's just like perfect smile, hair perfect,
just so happy to
like
be there,
it's just like. So I mean, he is like I think he is a pure image of what quarterback quality is going to be coming. If I had to give you my
ugly
say.
People can't play football, is that what you're saying?
No, it's really, well, that was just kind of a funny mention, but it's more of, he comes from a strict like RPO system. You know, that man, he don't hold on to the ball long. He's made a decision.
Yeah, that's successful quarterbacks in the NFL.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's
3
a guy,
seconds or less.
He's a guy that makes a move quick, and I was telling Nick, my only problem or my only worry with that is like there have been times where you could tell he didn't get through all of his reads, but he's forced it upon himself to go ahead and go the 3 yards, even though he missed out on 20, you know, because he just didn't make it through. But at the same time,
that's where a veteran NFL quarterback will know they let the game come to them.
Yeah,
they take what's presented to them,
and I don't think he's had to do that really often.
Where Cam a lot of times would hold on to the ball too long.
Yeah.
You know, waiting. Cam wanted that big play all the time.
If anything, this guy's going to be letting the ball go much, much quicker than any other quarterback we've had in a long time.
Well, in the NFL, they say is so much different from the college game too. They said it moves so much faster.
Yeah.
So him getting his reads is going to be even tougher. So he's going to have to get out of that mentality a little bit.
He's kind of used, but I'm just trying to say, is like he's used to a fast play style already.
Yeah.
Man, Christian McCaffrey's about to lead the league in running back catches.
Running back catch.
Yeah.
But it is the simplest playbook. You know, because Ole Miss is just running just a basic sort of thing. But in a way, that play style is moving it's forcing itself into the NFL more and more every year. That it's almost like maybe in a couple years when that is like literally everybody's playbook, you know, he knows it.
Started with the Patriots and Tom Brady, but you have to draft your receivers that way too, right?
Yeah,
you got to have receivers that can get open in 5 yards or less.
Yeah,
because that's Tom Brady. That made his career. Right, he would just
Julian
torch you.
Edelman
He would torch you for a 5-yard pass, which they would turn into a 15-yarder because they would draft small, fast receivers.
Yeah.
They would get the ball, and they would get 10, 15 yards every time. And then he would go over the top and torch you, for an 80-yarder then because he sucks you in, and you can't stop it. So to stop it, he sucks the defense in, and then he torches you. It was every game, It was just that's just the way he did. And other teams have done that, but you have to draft the right receivers for that, right? And that's the reason New England.
Robbie definitely.
That's the reason New England, they had so many receivers that were no names when they came in. They were superstars when they left. Because Tom Brady made, and they didn't draft them because they were big names. They drafted them because they said this guy's going to fit our scheme.
Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, guys like that.
Never heard of those guys until they got on the Patriots team.
Well, I think Julian Edelman was actually quarterback. If I'm not mistaken,
in like high school and college,
he was a quarterback. But I think with we've talked about this too with Christian, and obviously his health problems. Do you think it would be better to use him more as a receiver, like a slot guy, and let Chuba and Deontay Foreman
because Christian's
kind of
not
handle
been,
the back end?
Christian, he's had his moments, but he's not been a barrel you over running back.
Yeah,
he does better when he's already in motion when he gets the ball. Yeah. He's had some good runs from scrimmage, but so a lot of times though he gets knocked down pretty easy. He has to be super athletic to do anything from scrimmage, where instead of just running you over. And
he's doing flips over people.
I think he's perfect as a dump, as a safety check down or a dump valve, whatever you want to call it. And so in the slot would be good for him because he's at his best when he's in motion when he gets the ball.
Yeah.
And like in 2020, and I think it was smart of us to get Deontay Foreman too, because in 2020 Mike Davis was, balling people.
He was doing great with it.
And
but if we let those guys, in Chuba obviously
and
is
Chuba
more
was
athletic
good last year too.
And so between those two, we should be able to get the running we need between those two, and then having Christian maybe jump in occasionally in that slot when people are not expecting it, or be more of a slot receiver, take the small yards.
Because Christian, his athletic ability,
the
defenses know that he's going to get the ball a lot of times, but they can't stop it from happening.
Yeah.
So it almost don't matter where you put him, but I'd say put him where he's going to be most effective. And of course, I'm obviously, not an NFL coach, and nobody's came knocking on my door and asked me to be one.
Yeah, but still a perspective, and you've seen a lot of games. You've watched a lot of football,
But I think that I think put him where he's gonna help you the most. And to me, and from my perspective of watching him, it's when he's already in motion.
Yeah,
get him the ball when he's already in motion.
I think too, we need to see. So if you put him in the slot, that's fine. We got DJ and Robbie. I think we probably need to see a little more out of Terrence Marshall this year.
Yeah, I would like to see more.
I think he spent a lot
too.
Last year hurt, and you just didn't really get to see him much. We also have that Shy Smith kid, but he got arrested recently for like
DUI, wasn't it? Was it a
something?
DUI?
And I think it was a gun charge.
Oh, I think it was a DUI and a gun. I think.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I'm surprised he's still on the team.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
What's his name? How you...
Shy Smith is like SHI, and then Smith.
Oh, I need to go to picture.
But we drafted him last year along with Terrence Marshall. And I was kind I was kind of excited to see Terrence Marshall. We didn't really get to see much of him last year.
Yeah. It's like when he got the ball a couple times, but it just didn't seem like anything big was happening. But he's a rookie.
Tommy Trimble needs to come a bit more alive too.
Yeah, I think they expected more out of him.
Because I mean, he was a rookie last year, but now I thought we were going to see more of Ian Thomas over the last few years. Yeah. He just hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Well, we have
failed to find a tight end since Greg Olsen.
Thomas could come in at weird times and come up with a clutch catch for him.
Something like that.
But once again, I go back to the fact that Carolina's offensive line was absolutely horrendous last year. It's hard to really gauge anybody that was a rookie last year.
Yeah.
Because, number one, the quarterbacks had no time to throw the football to anybody. And then a lot of times when they were able to get it out and they threw it to Robbie Anderson, he'd drop it. So these other guys just didn't get a chance. So I just think with Carolina's offensive line, it's really hard to it's hard to pass any judgments on any of the guys last year.
It's revamped now, at least on paper.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it plays out.
I think I agree. I think on paper everything's looking good. It's cap space is nice. The defense is I'm happy with.
Yeah.
And if Baker Mayfield ends up joining the team, that's going to make Week 1 that much more exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they should just hey, NFL, just call up Cleveland. And tell them we need this.
There's part of me, the conspiracy theorist in me, says that everybody already knows it, that's the way it's going to happen. And that's why Cleveland is first. I think that they've even worked a backdoor deal that's like, we're going to create some drama, but we're going to take Baker Mayfield. So put Cleveland first on the...
Yeah.
But you know what would be hilarious is if like somehow Sam Darnold beat Baker out in training camp.
That would be
And he could.
That would be hilarious.
He could, but that would be... I almost feel like we would need to let Sam go, which I know we got money, but I feel like that needs to be in the trade. Sam needs to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, something like that.
They're going to need him.
Yeah.
So...
Is it legit or shit time?
As far as closing, I did not prepare legit or shit.
Oh, okay. Well done.
So if y'all want to do it, we can, and I will kind of fake it until I make it. Or this will be a legit or shitless Father's Day episode. Have you experienced the legit or shit? I know you said you've had a hard time.
No, he hasn't
getting
made it through an episode. We usually
it typically
do that
closes.
So,
but yeah, so we'll hold off that. That'll be
this
Jake
is
Branscome
really
episode 2.
Instant hand sanitizer. It really kills 99% of germs, legit or shit.
I guess
I'm gonna have to say that's legit because you just read it right off the
it's
bottom.
off the bottle. I mean, yeah, we keep hand sanitizer in the studio. That's the way we roll, just in case.
We're COVID cautious.
Yeah, we're
for sure.
COVID cautious. Any other questions for your dad, Nick?
I know pretty much everything. You know, I think this episode was leaning on more of you learning more about him.
Yeah.
You know, so
when I got really interested into your job, so we're gonna have to talk about that.
You could probably go work there if you wanted.
Yeah, sure.
I can go learn how to do it.
Yep. Just got to be like early mornings. That's
like
the
early.
thing.
I hate early. Now I'm trying to. I'll be honest with you. That's where I'm at in my life right now. Is I'm trying to train myself.
Mm-hmm.
Last night screwed me up, but to be fair, it was okay. I still got a lot done today, and I'm proud of it. I actually was working a lot on your video, so I need to show you that before you leave. So don't leave yet.
Okay.
But everybody else, you're more than welcome to leave, but not after these words, because we now have a Patreon.
Woo,
and I don't know when this is going to release. We might have already talked about this, but I'm pretty sure it's just patreon.com/get disarranged.
So if you want to sign up and give us your money monthly, we will give you stuff in return.
Well, in honest to God, what's going to happen is, you know, anything that you can contribute or that does come to us just helps the quality of this show. So it's literally going into the production of what we're wanting to do and hopefully to give you a better product. But also too, what's cool with the tier lists is that, you know, some of them have other goodies that are physical in them that you can have. But not only that, you get access to, you know, just the platform in general. So anything that we're posting, talking about, things like that, you get access to it. We're planning on posting a lot of cool content, maybe behind the scenes or just to kind of talk about the studio, you know, and kind of how we've decorated it with the wiener on my wall that we talked about with Matt Sickles. Were you aware that your son bought this for Christmas? Well, you didn't buy. I don't know if you bought it. You just had it made personally for me.
I technically did. I gave Brianna's roommate some money for making them.
This shit's hilarious. But Matt Sickles got a kick out of it. He was trying to figure out what it was the whole podcast. That was what he was. He was like, I thought it was one of those that like had the long neck and they went up and got the. It's like.
It's a snake.
Nope, it's.
I mean, it's even down to the fine details with the veins and everything.
It's God, 3D printed wieners. But anyway, so on Patreon, there's different levels, obviously, and what's cool about it is they have different things that they include. So read the descriptions. We're gonna start doing some basically shout outs for people who help us produce this. So there's a level on there. I think it's our $10 level that you'll get your name said at the end of all of these podcasts. And of course, we want to thank y'all even for listening. The listening is doing enough, trust me. But anything else you can do extra can make the show so much better, and just help it grow in a different way or be a different thing. So anything you contribute would be great. Also, too, you can find us at our Facebook group, which how do people find that? Do they just look up?
I link it in the description of the YouTube videos.
Yeah, so if you're listening on YouTube, just click down here.
There, or you can just go to Facebook and type in the Disarrangement podcast, and
our group should pop up.
Shows up there.
We talk about a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah.
And of course, with being a part of that group, I think this is the best part. And Patreon will do this too. So if you're a contributor there, that's nice as well. But as we upload, you get notifications, so you know when it's happening.
Another episode.
God, something else to ignore. But also too, we are on Twitter. We're not super active on Twitter. I've been really bad about that. But at the same time, I'm fired. But at the same time, with Twitter, there's basically polls there. That's typically what ends up happening. So if you like polls, you can vote
There's a lot
there.
Of people that love polls.
Why on Twitter, real quick, is it called a tweet and not a twit?
Not a twit. I'll be honest with you. I think it's the whole bird thing, but I think it's smarter to call it a twit.
Twit.
Yeah,
Sounds like you're insulting somebody. You stupid twit.
As much as I want to get this podcast out there, I really hate Twitter. Really hate Twitter.
It's boring to me.
Yeah,
I'm much more of an
it's-
Instagram. I'm much more of an Instagram
Instagram's
person.
not. It's harder on Twitter. If you need to consume information, Twitter is a great place to go. If you like to look at pictures and listen to videos, go to Instagram. That's if you don't want to read, go to Instagram.
Facebook's just drama.
Yeah, and Facebook's drama, but not in the Facebook group unless it's good drama.
like Peeps discussion.
Like a Peeps
I
discussion.
Swear to God, dude, I posted the other day in there. I thought that we'd have more comments on that Amber Heard thing, but literally nobody commented on it. But
Yeah.
when I
I
posted
think everybody just got tired of hearing about
when I
it.
posted but when I posted about Peeps, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, that
Jesus
whole
Christ.
comment section blew up.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got a speaker going out on this too, Austin, or something.
Oh, is it acting up?
Yeah.
It might be the connection. Well, I'll. Can you at least hear me?
I can hear you in the right speaker right now.
Okay.
It's been kind of popping in and out, and now it's back. Whatever happened, it's back now.
I'm gonna. Steph was messing with that earlier, so she was using it for her schooling. So I'll check that out and test. Thank you for letting me know that. Matt, it may have been happening to Matt Sickles, and I didn't know that. But anyways, you can find us at all your awesome places. Hopefully, you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify or something. You've already found us. But we're also at Anchor, but it just kind of redirects you to Spotify. So all the greatest places you get your podcasts.
Well, not my father. Did you have a nice
Not
time?
Nick's dad.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed being here with us, Jay. Even though
Yeah, it's way past
silly
his
and
bedtime
random
now.
conversation.
I
Yeah, we kept
I'll probably
him wild.
pull over and take a nap on the way home.
It's because you live so far
Yeah, I know,
away.
it's a long ride.
It's a long ride home. But anyway, so it's been 2 weeks. We'll see you in 2 more. I hope y'all have a great night or day whenever
Actually,
you're listening to
technically,
this.
when this airs, it'd only be 2 days.
Oh, okay. So it's been 2 days.
We got it. Dad's got to do the get disarranged thing.
We'll see you.
Don't forget about that.
Yeah. We this was very unplanned. I'm not expecting 3 podcasts in a month. But yeah, if you will, just say hi. I'm Jake Branscome and get disarranged.
Hi, I'm Jake Branscome. Get disarranged.
Whoa, I like it. So what I do with that is I take a clip and I play with it. That's,
okay.
That's what I do. I become a very bad producer and just make effects with it and shit.
Yeah.
But anyways,
That's what I would do with it.
yeah, that's it was really funny during the Stillwater one because
He couldn't get the name of the
Scott,
show right.
yeah, Scotty was
was
doing
like- he was
a
like,
Jack
get-
Sparrow accent.
Yeah.
God, it was
He
hilarious.
and he kept saying, he was like, get deranged.
Yeah, but it was so good though, so good. I had so much fun playing with it. But anyway, so it's been 2 days. We'll see you in 2 more.
2 weeks.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I hope you have a great night. Adios.
Prepare to get disarranged.